The plot of this film is purely fictional. Don't take it seriously. Please do not imitate. Any similarity is purely coincidental. Thank you for your support. Your likes and subscriptions are my motivation for updating. Chapter 799 Harvest. If we go to the beach now, we will find a lot of seafood washed ashore by the sea. Do you understand? Chinyu looked at Ling Qing and asked. This heavy rain will definitely cause the tide to surge. After it recedes, there will be a lot of food left. This is what I have to say, blessings and disasters are interdependent. While the heavy rain took away some of my food, it also brought me a lot of food. Yeah. Now I really understand. Then let's go quickly. Ling Qing nodded. Chinyu's words really made sense. With such a heavy rainstorm, the tide would definitely rise. And the lobsters, fish, shells and other things that would wash up would be gone. So he couldn't wait to go shopping. Yeah. Let's go! Chinyu nodded, then put on his backpack, holding a bow and arrows and a machete. After several days of heavy rain, it wasn't just the two of them who had nothing to eat. There were also other animals on the island. They must not have caught any food these days, and were hungry. So now that the sky has just cleared up, there must be a lot of animals coming out to look for food. With these things, you can ensure your safety. After Ling Qing also carried a backpack, after taking some dry food, followed Chenyu and walked out. Originally, it would take an hour to reach the beach. But this time, Chenyu and Ling Qing only walked for more than half an hour, and they had already found the food they needed. This time, the tide has risen to this position? Chenyu looked at the shrubs and some trees soaked by the seawater in front of him in disbelief, and said, Now it is about 100 meters away from the seashore. The rainfall this time is too terrible. Chenyu, look, there is a shell here. Ling Qing suddenly picked up a shell, and said to Chenyu excitedly, Picking up shells in the tree is really exciting. Yeah. From now on, we can start shopping. Chenyu nodded and said, The tide has almost receded. Now this kind of place must be full of seafood. Look, there is a Boston lobster there. Chenyu pointed to a place about 10 meters in front of him, where a lobster had died. This kind of Boston lobster has a very harsh living environment, and the water temperature and salinity must be within a very small range. Only in this way can they survive. If they leave the sea, they will basically die in a few minutes. Wow, there's another one there. We're rich. Chenyu. Ling Qing excitedly ran towards the Boston lobster, and put it into his back grate without saying a word. Everything is difficult at the beginning. I've made a good start today, so I'm sure I can pick up a lot of treasures today. Chenyu looked at the excited Ling Qing, and also started the task of picking up seafood. Although it can't be said that there are seafood all over the ground, but there are indeed a lot of them. Things like lobsters, abalone, scallops, and even ivory clams were swept up by the tide. It seems that they will indeed have a great harvest. After more than 2 hours, the two people's harvest was very, very rich. 2 full bags of seafood, various fish, shrimp, and various shellfish. These seafoods are probably enough for the two of them to deal with for several days. And the current weather, since the heavy rain a few days ago, the temperature has dropped sharply. Even in the middle of the day, it doesn't feel very hot. Wow, our harvest today is really rich. Ling Qing said to Chenyu excitedly, especially thinking about eating seafood today. He was very excited. Well, today's harvest is indeed good. I think we need to come again later, and then store them. With the current 047 climate, it is estimated that there will be no problem in being a strong person for 20 days. Umo said. Although seafood has a short shelf life and is easy to spoil, it can be stored at this temperature for 10 days or half a month without any problems. So now, they can store more seafood. After all, if it is placed in direct sunlight, it will definitely not be fresh in a few days. Yeah. Okay. But, isn't our cellar flooded? Then how should we store so much seafood? Ling Qing asked with some doubt. This is very simple. After I go there, I can dig a new cellar in half an hour. Chenyu said very easily. This kind of thing is a piece of cake for him. Half an hour later, the two returned to the shelter. It was only 10 o'clock in the morning. After Chenyu took the shovel, he went to dig the cellar. According to his next plan, he wanted to move his shelter to the empty land above. So the cellar now must be dug somewhere, although it might be a little bit nervous to get it in the next few days. After an hour, Chenyu finally dug the cellar. Actually, this little work originally could be done in half an hour, but because of the continuous rainfall in the past few days, The ground surface was a little wet, so it took a full hour, but fortunately, it is almost done now. Then Chinyu nailed some bamboos on the edge of the cellar like the previous cellar, so that more things can be put in. It's like a wardrobe with a partition. Chinyu, are you going to put all these things in now? Ling Qing looked at the completed cellar and asked. Well, put everything in first. It's not enough just like that. We have to build a roof now. Chinyu thought for a while and said. Because of the heavy rain a few days ago, Chinyu is still a little scared. So now all his buildings must be strong enough. At least they can't be filled with mud like before. Yeah. Leave it to me. Ling Qing nodded. This kind of small matter is no problem for him. Then Chinyu went to find tools for wall building. And then found some bamboo. And weeds. It was just a small roof of about 1 square meter. So it was completed quickly. In about 2 hours. Chinyu had already finished the roof. And this time he learned his lesson. Piling a layer of stones around the cellar. And then wrapping the stones with soil mixed with weeds. It was about 30 or 40 centimeters. In this way, even if it rained heavily, there was no need to worry about mud and muddy water getting in. Okay. It's done. Chinyu clapped his hands, looking at his masterpiece. Not bad. Much better than the last one. This time, the mud will definitely not get in again. Chapter 800 Talking to Oneself. Ling Qing looked at the cellar now. If it is surrounded like this, it will be much safer than before. Yes, let's go eat. It is about 1 o'clock now. After so much physical work, I am really hungry. Yeah. Look, I left these things, so we can eat luxurious seafood again today. Ling Qing showed Chinyu the seafood he had left. A few Boston lobsters, a few large abalones, and some shellfish. There was also an ivory clam that looked very much like an elephant. Okay, let's go. Chinyu swallowed his saliva. In fact, he still liked seafood very much. Especially the ivory clam, a big one. It should be effective if you eat it. I hope that after eating the ivory clam, I can be more majestic and powerful. After the two returned to the shelter, they began to slaughter these seafood. Sometimes, things like scallops, they have a lot of dirt inside, so if you don't pry them open and wash them clean, you can't eat them at all. Come, I'll do the butchering, you go and boil some water. Chinyu said to Ling Qing. Yeah. After Ling Qing responded, he went to boil some water. Chinyu began to prepare to butcher the seafood. An ivory clam, several large abalones, and 4 or 5 scallops. After successfully butchering the ivory clam, the large abalones, and 4 white butterfly oysters, there was only 1 white butterfly oyster left. Huh? Why do I feel something different? When Chinyu inserted the saber into the flesh of the white butterfly oyster, he seemed to feel something different. Could it be? Chinyu suddenly became happy, and an excited expression appeared on his face. Then he quickly opened the 2 shells. Pearl? Is that so? It seems that my luck is really good, Chinyu said to himself excitedly. He only opened 5 white butterfly mother shells and found pearls. You should know that this kind of seawater pearl is completely different from those cultivated freshwater pearls. The possibility of finding such a thing is very small, and the probability of it becoming a pearl is also very small. That's why Chinyu was so excited. This kind of thing is valuable. But it's just that. But when a pearl is suddenly found, the excitement is uncontrollable. What's wrong? Chinyu? Ling Qing looked at Chinyu with excitement and asked. Look, we're lucky. Chinyu showed Ling Qing the white butterfly mother of pearl. Oh my god, pearls? Ling Qing was obviously much more excited than Chinyu. First, he had never seen such a scene of pearls being found. This was the first time. Second, girls have a natural love for pearls. And there are so many of them. Ling Qing counted them. And there were about 9 of them. And they were all about the same size. Like the size of a little fingernail. But they were not like the pearls in TV dramas, which were completely regular. Some of them were round. Irregular circles. I'll make them out later. And make you a pearl bracelet. Chinyu looked at Ling Qing, who was excited, and said, this kind of thing is not particularly valuable. After all, there are too many cultured pearls on the market now. Scarcity makes things valuable. When their number increases dramatically, their value will definitely fall. Is this really possible? Ling Qing looked at Chinyu excitedly and asked. To be honest, I really never thought that I could wear a pearl necklace. I didn't expect that I would see pearls while surviving in the wilderness. And I might even wear a pearl necklace. Well, I'll find a way when the time comes. It will definitely work. Chinyu nodded and said, "This kind of thing. It's hard to say whether it's difficult or easy. The main thing is the drilling tools. It's quite troublesome to prepare. We picked up so many shells. Maybe there are pearls in other shells." Ling Qing thought about it. They picked up a lot of shellfish today. Well, there is such a possibility. It's okay. We'll take a look slowly. Chinyu picked out all the pearls and said to Ling Qing, "This kind of thing is really a pleasant surprise. Oh my god. In the wilderness. These two people actually got a pair of pearls. They must have cheated. Many of the remaining groups couldn't even eat because of the heavy rain. And they actually wanted to get a pearl bracelet? This is Chinyu. A man with both strength and luck. Let's eat. Our seafood feast." Ling Qing took out all the cooked seafood. And the steamed buns she made yesterday when she was free. Because if you only eat seafood, it is difficult to feel full. It's a pity that there is no soy sauce and mustard. Chinyu looked at the delicious seafood on the table and sighed. If these things were served with soy sauce and mustard, the taste would make people drool. No. I think it tastes good when dipped in chili sauce. Ling Qing is very easy to satisfy. Having seafood is already a very happy thing. So there are not so many requirements. Yeah. That's right. Chinyu dipped the chili sauce and nodded. Then he put a plump abalone into his mouth. It tastes quite nice, after all. Even without any seasoning, abalone is a very fresh ingredient. Oh my god, these two people are eating again. I can't stand it. I find that no matter how big the disaster is, it seems to have nothing to do with them. Seafood feast on the tip of the tongue. I'd better eat my stupid pickled cabbage noodles. To be honest, I didn't have any idea of going to the wilderness after watching other live broadcast rooms today, but looking at Chinyu and Ling Qing, this idea seems to have sprouted again. Brothers upstairs, cherish life, stay away from the wilderness. That's right. Didn't you see that these few days, many players disappeared inexplicably? The live broadcast room, that had been silent for 6 days, after it started, the number of people increased rapidly. Because 7 groups of players were eliminated at once. The number of people in the second live broadcast room has reached a terrifying 100 million. Therefore, there are a lot of barrages and comments. And even rewards are flashing one after another. After all, there is no shortage of rich people in this world. And there are also brainless fans. After Chinyu and Ling Qing finished their meal, their task today was to cut bamboo. Cut enough bamboo and bring it back. Because Chinyu is going to start building a house again. Although his brick and tile shelter is very good, it has been lived in for a long time. It will feel too small. And the most important thing is that the heavy rain a few days ago made me realize that its bearing capacity is still too weak and needs to be strengthened. Let's go. Let's go cut bamboo. After washing the pot, Chinyu said to Ling Qing, "Some things cannot be done by one person." And Chinyu was alone in the shelter. I still felt unsafe. Chapter 801 Bonus. Yeah. Ling Qing nodded in agreement. Then he said, "What a strange feeling. It's like after a heavy rain, everything is back to the beginning. It seems that everything is starting over again." Ling Qing sighed. In fact, it is very hard to earn every day, but it feels like a month. It has passed so quickly. It is really rare. How can it be a new beginning? Our relationship, isn't it the best proof? Chinyu directly and domineeringly hugged Ling Qing into his arms, and said with a smirk on his face, "Oh, you are so mean. There is a camera." Ling Qing shyly broke away from Chinyu's arms. This guy really doesn't care about the occasion at all. Just hugging and kissing casually. What if others see it? What are you afraid of? Just treat those people in the live broadcast room as pigs, Chinyu said directly and domineeringly. Anyway, he always felt that although he and Ling Qing were both very good looking, without the bonus of being a star, there shouldn't be too many viewers. It doesn't matter if they all run away. I'm doing this for the bonus anyway. Have you ever thought of becoming the kind of unscrupulous young man, twisting and flirting while playing basketball, putting on makeup like a woman, even if it's a 24K pure titanium alloy dog eye, it's not enough for him to pierce. There are some others, they always sing electronic music, damn it, and they are so shameless to be mentors. This bowl is so big, this noodles are so wide, isn't it infuriating? And the kind of rubbish, who earns more than 100 million yuan, and can't even shave their own hair? I don't want to be such a rubbish. Oh my god, Chinyu is too much. He actually said we are pigs. No matter, I want to deal with this guy. Brother Chinyu is so unique, I like him. Yeah, he is indeed very unique. It's not that Chinyu is unique, but because he doesn't act like those young actors with poor acting skills. Oh, by the way, there is a movie recently released. It's starring Lu Han, called something like Fortress. Has anyone seen it? How is it? Is it good? Don't mention it. I couldn't control my hands. I bought the ticket. Now his eyes are blind. And I chopped off his hands. Yesterday my girlfriend forced me to watch it. And I couldn't resist. So I went to watch it. Now. Oh. Brother upstairs. Your story is very touching. Please finish it. 9494. I feel that this must be an ending I like. Now. My ex-friend is in the hospital. And I am watching the live broadcast in the detention center. This is a happy story. Yesterday in front of the cinema, there were a few little girls setting up a table, on which were placed free movie tickets, drinks, peanuts, and popcorn, and they insisted on dragging me in. Damn. I was lucky that I ran fast, so I wasn't scared. You guys upstairs, you are all a bunch of animals. Is it really okay for you to treat a girl like this? In the live broadcast room, it was very, very lively, and it could almost be said that there was a peak in the comments and barrage. Among them, half of the credit should be attributed to Lu Han. Oh, how can you say that about our fans? If there were fans in our live broadcast room, they would be so sad. Ling Qing gently hit Chen Yu's chest, pretending to complain. TSK, if they don't even have this psychological endurance, then they don't deserve to be our fans. Chen Yu said very arrogantly. It's not because Chen Yu is really arrogant, but because, first of all, he feels that he may not have many fans. Secondly, it doesn't matter if there are no fans. I don't rely on that. Oh my god. Don't you care about us? I'm afraid Chen Yu doesn't know. It's easy to lose friends if you say that. As expected. The man I'm a fan of his personality. Lady upstairs. Chen Yu is already in a relationship. But he's still single again. Would you consider it? Think about why you're still single. There's a reason for it. The live broadcast room continued to be popular. And Chen Yu's words obviously did not make the audience disappear. It seems that it is really as Chen Yu said, his fans are not so fragile. Meow. At this time, Chen Yu and Ling Qing have arrived at Chuyu, and started to cut bamboo, main beams, and some hibiscus trees. This time their place is particularly spacious, so the house can be built a little bigger. It can put a stove, a dining table, a granary, and it would be best if I could make a sofa stool when I have time. So the bamboo and hibiscus trees will definitely be very expensive, but fortunately, although there are many things to use, their cutting tools have also improved a lot this time. With two cutting tools, the machete and the axe, their efficiency can be at least doubled. Let's do this. You go cut the bamboo, and I'll go find the main beam and the hibiscus tree, because bamboo is relatively easier to cut. After arriving at Chuyu, Chen Yu began to divide the work. Ling Qing's strength was relatively small, so he could cut the bamboo, and he would cut the main beam. Because Chen Yu and his team only had one saber last time, they couldn't do it at the same time, so the speed was naturally much slower. But now, they can work together. This way, the efficiency will be higher. Yeah. Ling Qing nodded. She naturally knew that bamboo was obviously easier to cut than the thick main beam. Your machetes. But be careful. Don't hurt yourself. Chen Yu handed the machete to Ling Qing and warned him. Oh, you seem to be talking like a 3-year-old. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Ling Qing pretended to be angry and rolled her eyes at Chen Yu, and said, No, I didn't treat you as a 3-year-old child. I treated you as a 1.5-year-old child, haha. Chen Yu smiled, and then continued, Okay, you just cut the bamboo here. I'll go inside to find the main beam. Yeah, I know. Ling Qing nodded, and said. Then Chen Yu turned around and walked into the bamboo house. After walking for about 10 minutes, Chen Yu finally found a tree that he liked. It was straight. It was about 8 or 9 meters long. What kind of tree is this? Chen Yu looked at the tree in front of him, and said to himself in confusion. He had never seen such a tree before, and he had no impression of it at all. Then Chen Yu took the axe and chopped it. The texture seemed very hard. It was completely suitable for the main beam. Although I don't know what kind of tree it is, then it's yours. After Chen Yu made his decision, he took his axe and chopped it. I have to say, axe is really more useful for chopping things. A big gap was seen after a few strokes. It is much more useful than a saber. After nearly an hour, Chen Yu had chopped down the main beam, and some hibiscus trees, about a dozen of them. Then Chen Yu carried the main beam and hibiscus trees, and found Ling Qing. Chen Yu, are Are you a monster? Chapter 802, Unseen in Hundreds of Years. Ling Qing looked at Chinyu in shock, looking at a 6 or 7-year-old tree trunk on his shoulder. And his other arm was holding a dozen hibiscus trees, all as thick as his arm. These things added together, enough to weigh 300 kilograms. Right, and this is not just a matter of weight, and the balance is hard to master. It's not easy to hold. This is simply a monster operation. What? Are you surprised by this? Chinyu asked Ling Qing with a greeting face. I really want to tell her loudly that I didn't even use half of my strength. It's true. I think it's not just me, but all the audience who see it, they will have the same expression as me. Right? Ling Qing nodded very seriously and said, Oh, don't worry about these details. But you are quite good, you cut so many bamboos. Chinyu looked at the bamboos on the ground and said, In an hour, Ling Qing probably cut nearly 20 bamboos. Although it's not too much, but for a girl, it's pretty good. Hee hee. Actually, I'm not that good, Ling Qing said shyly. In the shyness, there was a proud look. Just now, I really put all my strength into cutting bamboo, just to make myself feel not so useless. Looking at your boastful look, I suddenly thought of an animated character. Looking at Ling Qing's boastful look, Chenyu said with a smile. Huh? Anime characters? You must think I look like Yan Lingji, Reina, Qilin and Qiongwei. Right? Ling Qing spoke in a very narcissistic way, uncharacteristically. Actually, what I want to say is, Crayon Shinchan. Chenyu said with a serious face. Chenyu, you are so annoying, I don't want to talk to you now. Chenyu, this guy, actually compared himself to Crayon Shinchan. It's so annoying, although Crayon Shinchan seems to be quite cute. No matter, he just hates it anyway. Okay, let's cut the bamboo quickly. We need about 200 bamboos. Chinyu roughly estimated that, in addition to the rafters, he would add some bamboo to the foundation and the earth wall this time. It is equivalent to the steel bars in urban buildings, playing that role. It is obviously not realistic to get so many steel bars in such a place. Yeah, then let's start the competition, Ling Qing said with interest. Men and women work together. And work is not tiring. And there is motivation only when there is pressure. Isn't it? Are you sure you want to compete with me in cutting bamboo? Chenyu looked incredible. Ling Qing. This little girl is a little arrogant. What's there to be uncertain about? Chenyu raised his head and said with a firm face. Okay. Then, let's start. Just as Chenyu said the word start, he swung the axe in his hand. With a swing of his hand, a bamboo was cut off smoothly and fell to the ground. Ling Qing. Chenyu. The two looked at each other awkwardly for more than 10 seconds. And Chenyu took the lead in breaking this awkward atmosphere. If I say, I didn't mean it, would you believe me? Chenyu swallowed his saliva and said with a smile. What do you think? Ling Qing's face was not very good. Even a little dark. The game had only started for 1 second. And Chenyu had already knocked down a tree. It usually took him 5 or 6 minutes to chop down a tree. And Chenyu took about 1 second. Can this game still be played? Should the boyfriend and girlfriend still go happily together? I really couldn't control myself. Chenyu swore that what he said was true. Because when he was chopping down the hibiscus tree and the main beam just now, he was used to this kind of strength. So accidentally, this embarrassing situation was created. Then, should we continue our competition? Chenyu was embarrassed and asked tentatively. Observing Ling Qing's expression changes. No more. Ling Qing looked at Chenyu blankly. Wouldn't it be boring to compete like this? After a simple episode, the two began to chop trees together, and about 2 hours passed. Let's go! I think it's almost done. Chenyu looked at the bamboo pile under his feet, and there were about 200 bamboos, which was almost enough. Let's go back. Chenyu put down the axe and said, I can't do it anymore. I need to take a break. Ling Qing sat down on the ground and said tiredly. Although he didn't compete with Chenyu for the past 2 hours, he didn't take a break in order not to fall behind Chenyu. He chopped for more than 2 hours. Although, he only chopped 1/20th of Chenyu's. Okay. Take a break first. Chenyu nodded. It didn't matter to him, but Ling Qing's physique, such high-intensity work, was still a little bit difficult to cope with. Chenyu also sat down and handed the water to Ling Qing. After the two of them rested for 7 or 8 minutes, they returned to the shelter. Because after returning, they still had a lot of things to do. At this time, in the high-level meeting room of the Meteorological Bureau, There were more than 10 big men sitting. Some were meteorological experts. Some were scientists. And some were astronomers and geographers. Anyway, they were all big men. At this time, their faces were full of solemn and worried expressions. Because it was the rainstorm incident a few days ago. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was just a heavy rainstorm that had not been seen in decades or nearly 100 years. But they don't think the same as ordinary people. Because they know that this heavy rain is not just a rainstorm. It is because there is a meteorite in space, which is approaching the Earth, which causes the weather changes. Look, that thing is getting closer and closer. The meteorological expert looked at the flash that was sliding like a meteor on the small screen in front of him, and said with a serious expression, "Yes. Look at its moving trajectory and speed. It is estimated that it will land on the Earth in more than a month." Astronomer Lu Dao also spoke in a low tone, looking at the flash. This kind of thing is simply rare in hundreds of years. This thing that looks only the size of a little fingernail may bring a huge disaster to the Earth. Looking at its movement trajectory, its landing place is likely to be Binhai City in our country. If it unfortunately falls into the ocean, it may instantly submerge several nearby cities. Geographer Yang Minao said. Although this is only a rough prediction, this prediction is almost right. If this thing really falls on the Earth, it will definitely be a huge disaster. And when people feel very helpless, the size of the meteorite is too large, and there is no way to destroy it. Even if it is destroyed, it will cause serious damage to the Earth or other surrounding planets. As for moving the Earth and taking the Earth to wander, it is impossible with current technology. There is still more than a month before the meteorite falls. How do we spread the news? A 60-year-old man sitting in the center asked. Chapter 803 Viewpoint. This matter is too serious, so they must take it very seriously. It is better not to tell everyone yet. Once the news spreads, it will definitely cause a sensation and panic in the whole country. But the situation will be difficult to control. The meteorological expert said very seriously. This matter is not just as simple as a rainstorm. Once it is announced, it will inevitably cause panic in the whole country. So for such things, it is better not to announce them before they are completely confirmed. I don't think so. I think everyone has the right to know. If the situation exceeds our expectations, then even if we want to evacuate people in coastal cities, it will not be possible for a while. After hearing the words of the meteorological expert, the astronomer immediately explained. This kind of thing, you must not wait until it happens to tell everyone, because it concerns everyone's safety. Everyone has the right to know. You are wrong. It is not completely certain that the meteorite will fall in that place, so announcing the news now will only cause unnecessary panic. The meteorologist immediately spoke up, insisting on his point of view. Hey, I can't agree with your point of view. The astronomer immediately refuted. At this time, the old man who had not spoken suddenly spoke up, interrupting the two people's conversation. You two stop arguing. Won't it take a month and a half for the meteorite to fall? I'll give you a month. If the problem can't be solved after a month, then all the residents who might be involved will be evacuated. After the old man's voice fell, the expert stopped arguing and nodded. This method at the moment, maybe it's the best one, so now they can only think of a way to see if they can guide the meteorite to fall to other places. If there is really no way, if they are powerless, then they can only evacuate all the residents. I understand. Director Liao. After hearing the voice of the watcher, several scholars, scientists and experts nodded. They could not afford to offend the big man in front of them, so they could only obey his words. Of course, for such things, all the citizens, including the dozens of people surviving in the wilderness, did not receive any news. Once the meteorite really fell into the ocean, it would not only submerge the coastal cities, but also the entire Swana Island. At this time, Qin Yu and his team had already appeared in the shelter. On the first trip, Qin Yu only carried the main beam and the hibiscus tree to the shelter, and Ling Qing also carried 4 or 5 bamboos. Survival in the wilderness is the whole process of a goddess transforming into a female man. Ah! I'm so tired. After Qin Yu blocked the main beam, he rubbed his shoulders vigorously. Although he was very strong, his shoulders were made of flesh after all. After such a long time, it must have been very painful. You should take a rest for 24 hours. I'll go make dinner for us. After Ling Qing put the bamboo on the ground, he said to Chen Yu. He could also see that Qin Yu was a little tired today. I always feel that something big is going to happen, so I don't dare to rest. Yu shook his head and said. His right eyelid has been twitching these days. His intuition tells him that something big is going to happen. Of course, this intuition may be a subconscious reminder from the system. So he has to build a more solid shelter for himself as soon as possible. In this way, when the next natural disaster comes, he will have a better idea. I'm afraid you'll be too tired. Yu looked at Yu reluctantly and said, although she now completely believed in Yu's feelings. She always felt that he was too tired if he had to do these things alone. And she was reluctant to let him go. No, I just need to rest for a while. And I will be full of energy immediately, Yu said with a smile. With his healing ability, he could almost wipe out his fatigue in a few seconds. Okay. Then I'll go cook. Ling Qing could only nod and said. She also knew that she couldn't persuade Yu. So she had to give up. Well, go. I want to eat lobster tonight. Yu deliberately joked, fearing that Ling Qing would have some psychological burden. In fact, they were already together. So this kind of heavy work was done by a man. Okay. I got it. I'll make lobster for you tonight. Ling Qing turned around and responded. Yu knew what he was thinking. He was just afraid that he would feel guilty. So he often changed the subject. After saying that, Ling Qing went to cook. Okay, now let's get to work. After Yu encouraged himself, he began to prepare for work. This time, his wall should be thicker, and then 2 rows of bamboo should be placed side by side in the wall. The spacing is about half a meter. Although bamboo will corrode in this kind of soil, it will last for a year without any problem. And the problem now is that he has felt very uneasy during this period. I always feel that something big will happen during this period. So if I build a house myself, I may feel safer. Yu found the tools for building earth walls. This time he planned to build an earth wall of 60 to 70 centimeters. In this way, even if there are some heavy rains or hurricanes, they will not have much impact on his shelter. This time, the work is much more complicated than the last time. So even in 2 hours, Yu only built an earth wall less than 1 meter high. Okay, we can go back. At this time, it was already late, and they didn't have candles in this place. So they could only finish the work quickly. I don't know what the uneasy feeling in my heart is all about. Yu frowned and asked to himself. Logically speaking, if it's a small matter, I shouldn't have this feeling, but recently, the wild goats haven't made any movement, and I haven't felt any weather changes. This kind of calm feeling makes people feel that something important may happen. I hope nothing important will happen. Yu could only pray in his heart. If a disaster happens in such a place, it may be really hopeless. After returning to the shelter, Ling Qing really made the lobster that Yu liked. Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Yu. After Ling Qing finished cooking, she waited for Yu in front of the dining table. Your favorite lobster, how does it taste? Ling Qing made garlic fried lobster, which looked very appetizing. You really made it, Yu said with a little surprise. Then he picked up a Dragon Ball and started eating it. It tastes pretty good. Chapter 804 Intuition. Yu nodded. To be honest, Ling Qing's cooking skills are really amazing now. Hee hee. I'm studying hard for our restaurant, Ling Qing said with a proud look on his face. Yeah, not bad, keep it up. Yu nodded and began to eat heartily. Yeah, of course. Ling Qing also answered very seriously. After the two finished their meal, they went to bed early. After working all day today, they were still a little tired. Just like that, time passed by little. Because Yu built a more solid shelter this time, it took him 10 days just to build the wall. And it took about 6 days to make bricks and tiles. Then it took another 10 days for Yu to get the main beams, rafters, bricks and tiles all ready. And at the same time, he also made the earthen con and moved the stove up. His intuition told him that their shelter was becoming more and more dangerous. Unknowingly, just a shelter took Yu a full month. Okay, look at our new house. Is it grand enough? Yu showed Ling Qing the results of his labor for this month. Anyway, he was very satisfied. In just 1 month, he finished this house. For him, it was indeed a very proud thing. Yeah, it's so big. I like this house so much. When can we move in? Ling Qing said excitedly, looking at the house in front of him. Their house, because it was caught in the rain a month ago, now always feels a bit uncomfortable to live in. So for this house in front of him, he likes it very much. I think we can move in tonight, Yu said directly. because he absorbed the experience from the last time. So before the roof of the house was completed, the earthen Kong was already set up, because in this way, when the house is completely finished, the earthen Kong will be almost dry. Now it can be said that this house can be moved in with a bag. Really? Hee hee. That's great, I'll go and clean it up now. Ling Qing smiled happily. She couldn't wait to try their new house. Well, let's move all the stuff up there. To be honest, Qin Yu also wanted to try out the feeling of the new house. And this house was much bigger than the previous one. Then, the two began to move. Although at the beginning, it felt like there weren't a lot of stuff. But now when they were moving, they felt that their stuff was not a small amount. Especially the stone mill, sundial, coal, etc., which were all heavier. So it was very labor-intensive to lift it up. At noon, the two had not yet finished their moving work, so they could only eat something simple. Then, they started to work hard again. In this way, the moving work lasted until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when it was truly completed. Of course, for a bathroom, I'm afraid I'll have to build another one. It might be relatively troublesome. Finally, everything is moved. Qin Yu sat on the Kong to rest for a while, took a breath, and said, although our house is big now, if we go to the toilet, we have to run a distance again. Ling Qing thought for a while and said, it seems that the old saying is true. There are always pros and cons. Although they live in a comfortable big house now, and their current location can be said to be the top of the entire Swana Island. Even if the waves are huge, as long as they don't flood the entire Swana Island, their shelter is very safe. But the only certainty is that they just built the bathroom more than a month ago, and now they have to walk a long distance to use it. It seems like this for the time being, but you don't have to worry, because a bathroom, I can finish it in about 3 to 5 days. Qin Yu looked at Ling Qing, who was a little disappointed, and said, yeah, actually not. It's just a little far, you should have a good rest for a few days. There's no need to rush about the bathroom. Ling Qing quickly explained. My complaint was just a casual remark. Now that Qin Yu took it so seriously, I must feel very guilty. After all, many times, although I really wanted to help Qin Yu with his work, I was physically unable to do so. Okay, I understand. You are my woman now, and it is my duty to help you. So you don't have to feel guilty. And you don't have to think that I will be very tired. Understand? Qin Yu put his hands on Ling Qing's shoulders and spoke to Ling Qing very seriously. Because I know very well that Ling Qing really wants to help me. But she is a girl, and her strength is limited. So I can't help too much. Yeah, I know. But don't you get too tired. I will rely on you for the rest of my life. Ling Qing raised her head, looked at Qin Yu's serious face, and said seriously, okay, then we have a deal. Qin Yu's seriousness disappeared, and he said with a smile, a young couple should not be so unfamiliar. Then, let's start assigning work now. Your current task is to quickly light the fire in our stove. And then I will go and cut some weeds. By the way, find some drier firewood, so that we don't have to endure the cold at night. Qin Yu began to assign work to the two of them. But many times, when he assigned work, he had to do more of the work himself. Ling Qing, on the other hand, was doing some simple things. Yeah, okay. I'll definitely fix it when you come back. Ling Qing nodded, said seriously, I'll be back soon. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he took his bow and arrow, and his machete and set off. And at this moment, in the wilderness, there were two figures moving forward. After zooming in, you could see the bodies of two women, wearing jackets, one holding a bow and arrow, and the other holding a machete. Sister Nan, are we really going to hold on? The one who spoke was a beautiful-looking, slender-looking girl, with delicate features and a bit of exotic beauty. Looking at the other girl beside her, she asked. The girl being asked looked a bit heroic, and had a unique temperament. She was obviously a strong woman. Of course, this wilderness survival is not only a challenge for me, but also a mission. For me, I will never give up halfway through the mission I take over. That Sister Nan is actually called Xiao Chu Nan. It does sound like a man's name. And it's not a very serious name. Chapter 805 Prediction. But its owner is indeed a woman and a cold beauty. But Sanja and Yin Xiaohao have already withdrawn from our group. With just the two of us, it's possible. Before the girl finished her words, she was interrupted by Xiao Chu Nan. Do you think women are inferior to men? I tell you, If I didn't know the new rules of the program group, I would have stopped wanting those two pustules a long time ago. Xiao Chuanan spoke very domineeringly. That kind of man, is he worthy of being called a man? Although because of his personality, his parents at home have forced him to get married. But now, many men in society lack a kind of masculinity, and some wear heavy makeup. It makes people want to vomit when they see it. I don't even want to look at this kind of androgynous thing. If you want to marry me, you must conquer me first. Reba. I tell you, women must be weaker than men. Or without men, we can still live well, understand? Xiao Chuanan said to Reba. I can do what men can do. And I haven't done what men can't do. It's just one less stick. If you really need it. There are plenty on Taobao. So, what's the use of men who can't even control themselves? And can't be stronger than themselves? Then, what should we do now? Reba looked at Xiao Chuanan and asked. To be honest, she really wanted to quit. But firstly, Xiao Chuanan didn't want to quit. Secondly, if she quit now, her fans would definitely despise her. So even when Yin Xiaohao and Sunja quit a few days ago, I really wanted to quit. But under Xiao Chuan's toxic chicken soup, I chose to persist. But now, I regret it to death. If I had followed Sunja and Yin Xiaohao to quit at that time, I guess the high bed and soft pillows would be as comfortable as they can be now? I have a bad feeling, that is. There may be heavy rain in the next few days. So now, we must move towards the highest point of this island. In this way, we may not be swept away by the tide after the high tide. Xiao Chuan said very firmly. As soon as he spoke, he was the kind of person who was quite decisive. Then, how long do we need to walk? Reba asked with a tired face. They had been walking like this for half a month. I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 days, 7 or 8 days, maybe even longer. Xiao Chuanan said very coldly. I hope we can hold on for that long. Reba thought to herself. In such a place, maybe they can't hold on for 7 or 8 days at all. Unexpected events happen. If there is another torrential rain like the one a few days ago, the two women will definitely be eliminated on the spot. The two continued to move forward. At this time, at the headquarters of the Meteorological Bureau, several scientists, astronomers, and about a dozen people gathered together again. 1 month has passed. How are your calculations now? Everyone. The old man sitting in the center looked at everyone present with sharp eyes and asked. I gave myself a 1-month deadline for this matter. And now the time has come. It's time for these various scientists to hand over their research results. Director Liao. The situation seems to be much worse than what we studied. The meteorite is moving very fast. But its size is not very large. So the problem now is, this meteorite may land on the Earth earlier than expected. But its impact force is definitely not as strong as predicted. The person who spoke this time was the representative elected by all of them. What do you mean? Why do I not understand you? Director Liao asked the old man. His thick eyebrows raised. What I mean is that the meteorite is falling very fast. It is very likely that it will fall on the Earth in 2 or 3 days. Of course, according to our calculations, the volume of this meteorite is much smaller than we calculated before. The representative spoke again. What? 2 or 3 days? Such an important thing. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Director Liao's face was very ugly on the spot. 2 or 3 days. It is too late to evacuate nearby residents. And time is too tight. We all agree that, given the size of the meteorite, it shouldn't have much impact on the surrounding cities. Looking at Director Liao's liver-colored face, the representative quickly explained. This guy. He is not someone he can mess with. It's like a gun pointed at our heads now. And you actually think there might be no bullets? Are you kidding me? Director Liao's tone was very gloomy. If this kind of thing really caused a disaster to the entire coastal city, he, Director Liao, would not be able to do it. And this group of old stubborn people is simply unreliable. Now, evacuate immediately. Immediately. Right away. At this time. In Chen Yu and Ling Qing's shelter. Because Ling Qing rolled out about 100 candles a few days ago. They can use them with confidence. Use it as much as you want. This kind of thing is basically inexhaustible. Wow. Although the house has become bigger, it feels so warm. Ling Qing felt the warmth brought by the earthen stove and the stove in the room, and said with a look of enjoyment, well, because I made the earthen wall almost 1 meter thick this time. It can block the heat from being transmitted, so it will be particularly hot. Of course, in summer, it will also isolate some of the sun's temperature. so it won't be particularly hot. So this house is the best shelter for warm winter and cool summer. Chinyu explained. Actually, when I was doing it, I had thought about this problem. Chinyu, you are really great. How can you do everything so well? Ling Qing said with admiration. This guy is too versatile. Of course, I am just a legend. Chinyu said without any modesty. TSK. I praised you a few words, and you started to show off. Ling Qing made a face and said to Chinyu. In fact, he was very worried in his heart. Chinyu is so outstanding. Now he will definitely become famous through this wilderness survival program. When he returns to the real world, he will definitely be a big celebrity. And the women chasing him will have to line up. There must be many people who are more beautiful and outstanding than me. I wonder if Chinyu will still love me as always. It's really worrying to think about it. Chapter 806 Digging Purple Sweet Potatoes. I hope that by then, Chinyu can stick to his original intention. Chinyu, what are we going to do next? Ling Qing looked at Chinyu and asked. It was only noon now, so they still had plenty of time to go outside and find some things. We'll go hunting later and find some root food, Chinyu said. He actually tried to save the food in the cellar, but there was no way to save it, so it could only be like this for now. Without carbohydrates, he had to find some back, otherwise, their nutritional intake would be unbalanced. Yeah, okay. But it shouldn't rain heavily today. Right? Why don't you go ask your good friend? Ling Qing suddenly remembered something and said to Umo. It looks like there shouldn't be anything wrong. Chinyu looked at the weather, which was completely clear. In this kind of weather, and it's daytime, there shouldn't be any storms or anything. Yeah, then let's go. Ling Qing felt that he should go find his backpack and shovel, etc. To be honest, he hadn't been out for a good walk these past few days. This time, I can go out and have a good walk. Even if I can't find anything else, I can at least relax. Then Chinyu also picked up his backpack, bow and arrow, and machete, which are his standard equipment every time he goes out. Since the last rainstorm, to be honest, Ling Qing is now very timid. During the last rainstorm, they were fortunately at home. If they were outside, it would be troublesome. So now every time I go out, I feel a sense of fear, especially when I have to go to a place far away from the shelter. Afraid of a sudden rainstorm, I would not be able to return. After walking for more than 2 hours, the two suddenly found a kind of root food similar to purple sweet potato, and even the shape and color were similar to purple sweet potato. Chinyu, can this thing be eaten? Ling Qing dug out one, and handed it to Chinyu and asked. Although this thing looked very similar to purple sweet potato, I was not sure, so I asked Chinyu, it would be safer this way. Yes, this is the wild purple sweet potato. Although its color is not as deep as the purple sweet potato, its effect is exactly the same as the purple sweet potato. It seems that there are still many wild purple sweet potatoes nearby. Let's dig some more and take them back, Chinyu said. Now he felt that only by putting the food in his shelter, it was the real thing. In this way, no matter how big the rainstorm or hurricane was, he would not be afraid of food shortage. Yeah, I like purple sweet potatoes the most. They are sweet and delicious. Ling Qing nodded quickly and said, purple sweet potatoes are a root vegetable. They are not as sweet as beetroots, but they also have a light sweet taste, and they should be rich in carbohydrates. So this plant not only tastes better, but also has very high nutritional value. Okay, let's get started, Chinyu smiled and said, looking over. There are many purple sweet potatoes and some carrots scattered around. Okay, let's start the game. Ling Qing started to speak provocatively again. It seems that he has forgotten the fear that Chinyu brought to him during the competition a few days ago. Do you really want to compete? Chinyu asked uncertainly. This little girl, is she really not afraid of being abused? Humph, I will decide the rules this time. Ling Qing smiled slyly and said, the rules of our competition this time are you dig 5, I smash 1, and whoever digs more will win. Do you understand? Ling Qing said with a smug smile. In this case, no matter how powerful Chinyu is, he can't be his opponent? Is this fair? Chinyu stared at Ling Qing helplessly and asked. Although he would definitely not lose in this way. It was too unfair. Then you bully me every night. Is this fair? Ling Qing pouted and asked Chinyu. Staring at him, Chinyu was speechless in an instant. To be honest, he really had nothing to say. But he didn't expect Ling Qing to be so open now. She actually used this kind of thing as a bargaining chip to threaten me. I thought about it. It's fair, very, very fair. Chinyu said quickly. If he keeps talking, I won't be able to get on her when I come back tonight. Hee hee. I said it's very fair. Right? Ling Qing smiled and started to dig purple sweet potatoes. Chinyu also speeded up his movements, not because he wanted to compete with Ling Qing, or to surpass him, but because of the weather. Maybe something will change at any time. So he didn't dare to slack off at all, and hurried back to the shelter. This was what he should do now. Just like that. More than half an hour passed quickly. Chinyu and Ling Qing had already dug up 2 bags of things, most of which were wild purple potatoes. But there were also some carrots. These things should be enough for them to eat for a long time. Wow! You are so fast! Chinyu quickly praised Ling Qing. TSK. You're laughing at me again. Ling Qing pouted, looking at Chinyu and said, Chinyu dug 5. And he only dug 1. Even so, he was still surpassed. How could I laugh at you? Your performance today was really great. Chinyu rubbed his chubby face and said. He was working at full speed. And Ling Qing's speed was already good. Humph! I don't believe it. Ling Qing was still a little unhappy, and swore in his heart that he would never bet with Chinyu again. Okay. Let's go back. Let's try to do it again later, so that we can have more time. Chinyu carried the backpack on his back and said, Yeah. Seeing Chinyu getting serious, Ling Qing also spoke very seriously. Chinyu led Ling Qing back all the way, using the machete in his hand to split the thorns on both sides of the road. Ling Qing's skin was fair and tender, and it would be bad if she was scratched by the thorns beside her. Besides, in this wilderness, it would be difficult to find the corresponding herbs if she was injured. Chinyu, guess how many fans I can get this time? Ling Qing walked in front, turned around and asked Chinyu softly. Fans? Hey. 020 hey. With me. With our current achievements. How can we have fewer fans? Don't worry. Chinyu smiled softly after hearing it. Chapter 807 No Scars. What an annoyance. I'm just happy. How can I be without fans when I'm with you? Ling Qing said in a delicate voice. Hee hee, I find that after being with me, you become more and more courageous, little girl. Chinyu gently scratched her nose, and said dotingly. Hee hee, I'm spoiled by you. Ling Qing pecked Chinyu on the face, and ran forward with a smile, like a happy little rabbit. Oh! Suddenly, Ling Qing, who was swinging her arms and jumping in front of her, screamed, squatted on the ground. What's wrong? What's wrong? Hearing Ling Qing scream, Chinyu hurriedly ran towards Ling Qing. Ling Qing covered his calf with both hands. Blood was flowing out between his fingers, tears appeared in his eyes, and he was crying. Wow! It hurts. Seeing Chinyu coming over, Ling Qing felt the pain in his calf more and more. Let go of your hands gently, don't cover the wound. After Chinyu squatted down, he gently took away Ling Qing's hand covering the wound. A bloody wound of about 2 or 3 centimeters appeared on the outside of Ling Qing's left calf. It seemed that a blood vessel had been cut, and blood could not stop flowing out. Chinyu looked to the side. There was a green thorn branch beside the road, which was covered with sharp thorns. It seemed that this thorn scratched Ling Qing. Don't worry. It's okay for now. I will help you treat the wound first. Besides, this kind of thorn is not poisonous. Chinyu gently touched her head and said softly. Chinyu picked up Ling Qing, gently placed her on a big rock, and stretched her legs straight to avoid the wound from bursting. This will also help the muscles relax and prevent more blood from flowing out. Don't worry, I have experience in dealing with this kind of wound. It will be fine. Chinyu said, quickly took out the water bag from his quilt pocket, carefully cleaned the blood on Ling Qing's calf. Wounds like this must be cleaned in time, otherwise they may become inflamed and cause infection. It will be much more troublesome to treat them at that time. Now that it's cleaned, you gently press both sides of the wound. Don't let the blood flow out again. Chinyu professionally cleaned the wound and said in an imperative tone, as if he was a professional doctor at this moment. Yes. I'll listen to you. Ling Qing choked up, wiped the tears from her eyes, and replied to Chinyu firmly. As a good girl. Ling Qing rarely got hurt, since she was a child. This was even more true after she grew up. She didn't even have a scar on her body, let alone the wound that was bleeding at the moment. Therefore, this made her feel extremely panicked. Be good. Wait for me here for a while. I'll go to the side to pick some herbs for you. After getting Ling Qing's reply, Chinyu turned and walked behind the thorns. He wanted to find a kind of herb here. A wild herb that could stop bleeding and reduce inflammation. After all, this was not a hospital, and there were no corresponding medical conditions. If you were injured in the wild, you must get treatment as soon as possible. Otherwise, if there was a lack of medicine, the wound would quickly become infected. According to Chen Yu's survival experience, it was not only the hospital that could treat the disease. Many herbs in the wild, even the bones of animals, could act as medicine. For a scratch like this, if it was treated in time, there would not be any big problem, and even scars would rarely be left. But if left alone, in this hot and humid bush, the weather is hot and bacteria will breed. It is very easy to develop tetanus, and it will be too late to treat it. Chen Yu concentrated and searched carefully, looking for a herb that can kill bacteria and stop bleeding. Years of experience in surviving in the wild told him that there must be mugwort growing in such a place. He chopped the thorns with a machete in his hand, and searched carefully on the ground. Suddenly, a green plant in the distance came into his sight. It's mugwort, that's right, it's this herb. Chen Yu hurried over and used the machete in his hand to dig up a mugwort plant more than 10 centimeters high on the ground with its roots. He hurried back to Ling Qing's position. Dang 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 dang. Chen Yu held the mugwort while making Ling Qing laugh, relieving her nervousness. What is this? Ling Qing had stopped sobbing, turned her head, and looked at Chen Yu curiously. Hee hee, you don't know, silly girl. This thing is called mugwort. It is a hemostatic Chinese medicine that can be found everywhere. This is for your wound. Chen Yu was not idle. While speaking, he gently crushed the mugwort in his hand with a clean stone. His focused expression made Ling Qing feel warm. The juice and grass residue of mugwort both have the effect of stopping bleeding. Mix them together and apply them gently on the wound. After the blood coagulates, you can gently peel it off. Pull a larger leaf from the side, scrape off the leaf flesh, leaving only thick veins. This leaf can be used as gauze to filter out most of the herbal residue. Chen Yu picked up the ground herbs and gently placed them on the leaves with interlaced veins. He then pulled another leaf and covered the surface. Come on. Don't be afraid. It won't hurt. Chen Yu comforted Ling Qing while gently applying the wrapped herbs to the wound. He used the shaved thorn vines next to him to tie the herbs to the wound. Okay. Don't move now, or the wound will bleed again. After finishing, Chen Yu took a look. I feel that my bandaging skills have improved a lot. Yeah, it really doesn't bleed anymore. Ling Qing looked at the wound covered with a thick layer of herbs, and the blood had stopped flowing. In fact, Ling Qing's injury was not very serious, but she rarely had such a situation before, and suddenly saw the wound with blood gushing out, and it also appeared on her body, and she couldn't help but panic. Hee, don't worry, I told you to follow me, and you don't have to worry about anything, Chen Yu said confidently. Yeah, but the wound is like this. What should I do? Ling Qing frowned and said frustratedly. Although the wound was bandaged, Chen Yu said that I couldn't walk around casually. Otherwise, the wound would still burst and bleed. Well, why don't you stay here? I'll go back and make a stretcher and ask someone to carry you, Chen Yu said deliberately as if joking. Woo-woo. Don't leave me. When Ling Qing heard that Chen Yu wanted to go back by himself, tears immediately welled up in her eyes, and she looked pitiful. Ha. I'm just kidding you, Chen Yu said, picking up Ling Qing horizontally, carrying the backpack on his back, and heading towards home. At this moment, the live broadcast room was boiling, and the crazy barrage almost covered the entire screen. At this moment, I just want to say, put down that girl. Let me do it. The beast upstairs. Goddess Ling Qing is mine. Woo-woo. I also want to say, put down the girl and let me do it. My Chen Yu. Why is it not me who is injured? This wound is treated so professionally. I'm afraid even ordinary nurses in the wild. It's difficult to achieve this level. Alas, long-term illness makes a good doctor. My Chen Yu has suffered so many injuries. Is he so professional in treating wounds now? Why do I feel heartbroken? Chen Yu's action of picking up Ling Qing horizontally once again caused a small climax in the live broadcast room. Various rewards were given one after another. Some were out of pity for Ling Qing, while others praised Chen Yu's calm attitude in the face of danger. Ling Qing was like a princess, gently nestling in Chen Yu's arms, and she felt very at ease at the moment. Even if the sky fell, he would not be afraid, because Chen Yu was with her. Putting her ear against Chen Yu's chest, she felt his strong heartbeat. I really hope to be with you till the end of time. Ling Qing gently hugged Chen Yu's neck and said, Silly, why think so much, I'm always here. Chapter 808 Crisis is everywhere. Although Chinyu was carrying a few dozen kilograms of heavy objects on his back, and was holding Ling Qing in his arms, he did not feel tired. According to his current physique, let alone Ling Qing's weight, he could easily carry her even if she was twice as heavy. But thinking about Ling Qing being twice as heavy, Chinyu could not help but shudder. If that happened, he probably would not be able to carry her. Chinyu was very fast, which did not surprise the onlookers in the live broadcast room, who had always seen his abnormal physique. Soon he walked to the shelter carrying purple sweet potatoes and carrots. He gently put Ling Qing down, and then sorted and packed the purple sweet potatoes and carrots, and sent them to the cellar storage room. Purple sweet potatoes and carrots are both long-lasting foods. Especially purple sweet potatoes, which can be stored for 2 or 3 months in autumn and winter without any problems. Purple sweet potatoes contain a lot of protein and starch, as well as various carbonate substances, which can provide most of the energy needed for human activities. Carrots are rich in vitamins, which can effectively enhance human resistance. In the climate where the temperature drops gradually in autumn and winter, vitamin supplementation is essential. Moreover, the low temperature in the cellar can effectively extend the storage time of food. If there is enough food, the shelf life can be extended by a month. After sorting out all this, Chinyu quickly returned to Ling Qing, helped her into the shelter, and gently laid down on the Kong. You are injured. It is not suitable to move today. While it is still early, I will go out to get some bamboo and wood, and arrange the bathroom closer. After settling Ling Qing, Chinyu took a machete and bow and arrow, turned around, and said to Ling Qing, Then you should be careful. Come back early, I, Qian Haozhao, am a little scared to be alone. Ling Qing looked at Chinyu's face, said with a little embarrassment, A woman, especially a woman who has just been injured, is very dependent on the people around her. Especially now that she is in the wilderness of the island, being alone has increased her inner fear. Don't worry, I will come back early before dark. After a tiring day, close your eyes and have a good rest, which is conducive to the rapid recovery of the wound. After comforting Ling Qing, Chinyu turned and walked out of the shelter, and walked towards the depths of sinew. Having been out constantly these days, and rebuilding the shelter, he has observed the surrounding environment very thoroughly, and he knows very well where Yuzi has the materials he needs. Walking deeper into the forest, Chinyu looked at the surrounding environment. Although he is very familiar with it, he still has to be as cautious as possible. After all, this is the rainforest, and danger is everywhere. This time, Chinyu did not plan to build the bathroom the same as last time. He decided to cut down 4 thick tree trunks, each about 2 meters long, to be used as the main pillars on the 4 sides of the bathroom. As for the remaining 3 walls, he planned to cut the bamboo, weave them with bamboo strips, and make 857 doors on the other side. Such a bathroom is well ventilated and breathable, which is not conducive to the growth of bacteria. Chinyu soon found 2 suitable trees, the trunk size of which was about the thickness of the mouth of a bowl. It was perfect for pillars. He held the machete tightly in his right hand and chopped hard at the root. In a short while, he chopped a thick tree trunk into 2 pieces. After chopping another one into 2 pieces, Chinyu found 2 pieces of strong thorn vines, tied the trunks together tightly, and carried them on his shoulders back to the shelter. After a while of going back and forth like this, he had also cut back the bamboos used to weave the wall. At this time, it was already close to evening. Because of the constant work, Chinyu's face was covered with crystal sweat beads. Ling Qing had also woken up a long time ago, walked over with a smile, and wiped the sweat off Chinyu's face with a sweat towel in her hand. She was like a docile young wife. This scene was transmitted back to the live broadcast room by the high-definition camera in the sky. The single dogs who were watching the live broadcast were immediately tortured and wailed. Ah, I can't stand it anymore. I want to find a girlfriend. I want to love her well. Hee hee, is the food not tasty or the game not fun? You actually want to find a girlfriend? Don't you know why you are still single? The above person has the right answer. So warm, this is the life I yearn for. The husband and wife support each other and raise children. The above person wipes the saliva when your children roll on the floor and there are several mouths to feed. You will not remember this kind of warmth. TSK, you are all so experienced. You all look like veterans. My goddess, woo woo. Chinyu and the others did not expect that Ling Qing's small action would cause such great harm to the single dogs watching the live broadcast. Take a break. You've been tired all day. I just cooked your favorite seafood. It's good for your nutrition, Ling Qing said to Qinyu with a happy face. Seeing that it was about to get dark, Qinyu glanced at the stove next to him that was emitting smoke, and a burst of fragrance floated out from Mr. Guo. Qinyu put down the saber in his hand, piled the bamboo together, and walked over with Ling Qing. Be careful. It's hot. I'll do it. Yumu stopped Ling Qing's hand that was about to reach for the boiling seafood pot, picked 2 thick leaves from the side and wrapped them in his hands, and lifted the pot to the table at the door. At this time, Ling Qing also brought a ceramic bowl and served Qinyu a bowl of hot seafood soup. The two drank the soup while taking out the seafood from the pot and feasting on it. The pot not only cooked seafood, but also purple sweet potatoes and carrots they dug yesterday. The delicious seafood dinner made the live broadcast room drool, almost overflowing the screen. When the two finished their meal, it was completely dark. Qinyu took out 2 candles from the house and lit one. Starlight shone from the night sky, reflecting the candlelight and looking particularly warm. Qinyu and Ling Qing lay on a piece of grass next to the shelter, counting the details of their entry into the wilderness until now. While reminiscing, Qinyu made Ling Qing laugh. The sea breeze blew from afar, bringing waves of chill. The next moment, dark clouds that came from nowhere covered the brilliance of the stars. The chirping of insects and birds around them stopped immediately, and the originally lively wilderness suddenly became silent. Qinyu felt a piercing chill coming down from the sky. The water vapor content in the air gradually increased, and the breeze became violent. Oh no! The weather has changed. It looks like another storm. Qinyu and Ling Qing stood up immediately. You go back to the shelter first. I'll go check out the pasture over there and clean it up, lest the heavy rain kill the pheasants and rabbits, Yumo said as he turned around. Wait, I'll go with you. Ling Qing hurriedly grabbed Qinyu's hand. It's so dark, you have a foot injury. Don't walk around. I can do it alone. Qinyu thought Ling Qing was worried about him. But I'm scared to be alone. Ling Qing's voice was trembling. Obviously, the dark night without Qinyu was extremely scary for Ling Qing. Chapter 809, Thankful. Just like when the storm came that day, if Qinyu hadn't been by her side, she wouldn't have been able to hold on. Let's go with the candle. Qinyu shook his head helplessly, reached out to pull Ling Qing up, and walked towards the ranch. Qinyu and Ling Qing waited for the candle and walked towards the ranch. The shelter was not far from the ranch. With the weak light of the candle illuminating the surroundings, they soon arrived at the ranch. Qinyu's body has been strengthened by the system, and it has far surpassed ordinary people. Even with the weak candlelight, he can see the situation of pheasants and hares in the pasture. Obviously, animals have a much better instinct to sense danger than humans. The pheasants and hares in the pasture are anxious and jumping up and down. This further infers Qinyu's guess that there is a high possibility of abnormality next, and a storm is coming. And this disaster is far greater than what they encountered in the past few days. I'll go catch the chicks, and you catch the little rabbits and put them in your pocket. Since we're already here, we should do everything we can to avoid unnecessary losses. After hearing what Qinyu said, Ling Qing quickly walked over and picked up the little rabbits hiding under the mother rabbit's belly, along with the rabbit nest, because chickens tend to jump around when frightened. Qinyu was afraid that Ling Qing couldn't catch the chicks, so he went to catch the chicks himself. As soon as Qinyu's hand reached under the mother hen's belly, he was pecked hard by the pheasant. This was a mother's instinct to protect her children. Qinyu reached out and covered the hen's eyes, took out the chicks from the chicken coop one by one, and put them into his backpack. After that, the two of them left the ranch. Qinyu went to the banana tree next to him and picked a lot of banana leaves, and covered the chicken coop and rabbit coop layer by layer. This was also for the rabbits and chickens. If the rain lasted for a long time, even adult pheasants and rabbits would not be able to withstand it. After doing all this, Qinyu and Ling Qing each carried a backpack and returned the same way. The backpacks contained newly born chicks and rabbits. As for the adult pheasants and rabbits in the ranch, Qinyu did not bother to take care of them. These animals have lived on this deserted island for generations, and they have their own ways to survive. If they can't hold on, they will be made into tomorrow's food. On the way back, Qinyu and his friends. The sea breeze was getting stronger and stronger, and the faint light of the candle had been blown out. Ling Qing held Qinyu's hand tightly, and his palm was wet with sweat. Don't be afraid. It's okay. Our house is just ahead. Sensing Ling Qing's emotions, Chen Yu comforted her. Yeah. I'm not afraid of anything with you around. After saying that, he held Chen Yu's hand tightly. Chen Yu smiled silently. Although the little girl said she wasn't afraid, she clung to him tightly, holding on to the comfort and sense of security he could give her. Ah hoo hoo. Just as Chen Yu and the others had just walked into the wall, a series of low animal roars suddenly came from outside. Ling Qing jumped in fear, and quickly pulled Chen Yu into the house, and closed the door tightly. This is too scary. Why are all these big guys running out? Ling Qing leaned his back against the wooden door, patting his chest and said with lingering fear, well, it's really abnormal. In the past, even if there was a storm, these beasts would just hide and come out to look for food after the storm. But today they were scared and fled. It's really hard to imagine. Chen Yu looked at the huge tree swaying in the wind outside the window, and the shadows that occasionally flashed in the sky, with a thoughtful look in his eyes. Is there a disaster going to happen? Is it an earthquake or a tsunami? Ling Qing couldn't help but worry. At this moment, they were on the island. If an earthquake or a tsunami occurred, it would be really useless. At this time, the live broadcast room was also full of noise. Because just now, among the remaining dozen or so groups, the members of Team Leader Jean were scattered by the running beast. One of the 4 members was missing. Except for the blood on the ground and a bitten boot nearby, there was no trace of the missing member. The remaining 3 people were so scared that they dared not step out of the shelter again. Oh my god, this is too crazy. It's even scarier than a horror movie. I should be thankful now. I'm lucky I wasn't picked when the lucky draw was made. TSK, I wouldn't go even if you gave me 1 billion in this situation. Who will benefit from the money that you earn but don't spend? Oh, the person above is very emotional. It seems you have a lot of experience. Alas, luckily my goddess Ling Qing is fine, otherwise I'm afraid my heart will be broken again. You see, I'm not worried. This kind of child's play, my brother Chen Yu can handle it easily. He's a man who can fight against a pack of jackals. Looking at this scene, I guess someone will quit again. It seems that only a few can hold on to the end. Sister Jean, what should we do? At this time, the 27th group has become a mess. The group I mentioned earlier was attacked by wild beasts. In just one encounter, 1 person disappeared from my body. Under their noses, the team members who were alive and kicking just now may have been buried in the belly of the beasts. And in the current weather, if there is another storm, their shelter will not be able to withstand the destruction. The storm not long ago just passed. They first stored food, looking for edible things to store. As for the shelter, they just repaired it hastily. After all, the storm had just passed. And in the minds of ordinary people, such large-scale disasters do not happen often. Therefore, the staff of Group 27 also thought that there would be no problem for the time being. But unexpectedly, it happened again not long after. Alas, if there is another storm tonight, we will definitely not be able to hold on. Not to mention anything else. Even the current physical storage is a big problem. Yes, Sister Jean, this environment can endanger life at any time. If we insist on continuing, we may not even see the sun tomorrow. The dissuasion of the team members kept shaking Jean Yuelyang's heart. Speaking of Jean Yuelyang, many people admire her. After all, there are not many people who dare to be the first in the world. However, she hesitated when faced with a life-threatening problem. I don't care. If you want to insist, then insist. I'm not going to do it anymore. Zhang Mao, a member of the 27th group, stood up at this time, pressed the emergency button directly, turned his head, and said loudly to the team members, I decided to quit with Brother Mao. Sister Jean, I can't hold on to this game either. Another female team member walked to Zhang Mao aside. At this time, there were only 3 people left in their group. If 2 of them decided to quit, the remaining Jean Yuelyang would be forced to quit. Alas. Okay. After all, life is more important. Jean Yuelyang looked at the 2 inside, saying helplessly, soon. The sound of the helicopter twisting the propeller sounded over the deserted island. Chapter 8:10 Search and Rescue. Because of the strong wind and the inconvenience of the parking position, the helicopter dropped the ladder after hovering in the air. Who pressed the button? There are only 3 of us. Where is the other one? A pilot climbed down the ladder and asked them. Just now they were scattered by wild beasts. We went out to search for a long time, but only found a broken boot and a bloodstain. It is estimated that they are in danger. Golden Moon looked at the pilot. His eyes were full of sorrow. After all, they had been together for a month or two. It would be hard for anyone to accept that they were gone just like that. Well, we will arrange for people to search and rescue around. Then who among you three will quit? Or will you go together? The pilot picked up the intercom and made some arrangements, and explained the search and rescue situation in detail, and then asked them, "Let's quit together. The current situation is indeed not suitable for this program," Jin Weiyang said, and climbed up the ladder of the plane with 2 team members. Listening to the roar of the plane fading away, Qin Yu silently calculated in his heart, "I don't know if it's an individual who quits this time, or the entire group committee. In such an environment, if one's psychological quality is a little weak, it is very likely that he will not be able to hold on." Ling Qing turned around and gently hugged Chen Yu, putting his head on his chest, and cheered him up with Chen Yu. "Sleep peacefully. The walls of our house are more than 1 meter thick, and it's very solid." Chen Yu patted Ling Qing's head and said softly. Although he was comforting Ling Qing, he couldn't fall asleep at this moment. Or to be more precise, he didn't dare to fall asleep in this kind of weather, and on an island. Even a 1,000-year-old tree can be uprooted by a typhoon. Not to mention his shelter? Chen Yu quietly looked at the howling wind outside the window. Lost in thought, Ling Qing's even breathing sounded from his chest, in contrast to the violent wind outside the window. Chen Yu's heart gradually calmed down. The wind was still howling outside the window, but Chen Yu's heart was as calm as water. He waited until midnight, but the storm that was supposed to come never came. In the sound of Ling Qing's breathing, Chen Yu gradually fell asleep. "Get up, lazy bum. The sun is shining on your butt." Ling Qing woke Chen Yu up when he was still half asleep. As soon as he regained consciousness, Chen Yu saw the dazzling sunlight outside. Shaking his head, Chen Yu thought he was still dreaming. After all, there were many strange phenomena last night, and the wind blew all night. How could it be sunny when you wake up? Are you surprised? I am also very surprised. It should have been stormy last night, but now it is sunny. It is really strange, Ling Qing said while bringing out breakfast. It seems that he had already gotten up and prepared breakfast. Since Chen Yu did not fall asleep until midnight last night, he was still a little sleepy when he just got up. "Come on, hurry up and wash up and have breakfast. It's a good day today. We need to prepare more supplies for the winter," Ling Qing said to Chen Yu while setting up the dishes. "Today's breakfast is a bit light, but it is also delicious. After so many days of feasting on fish, meat and seafood, it is still necessary to eat some fruits and vegetables occasionally. It is not only a balanced nutrition, but also a way to regulate appetite. In this wilderness, if you have anorexia, you are basically useless." "Not bad. Under my guidance, your cooking skills have improved rapidly." Chen Yu tasted the vegetarian dish in the pot and praised it. "Humph. My cooking skills are already high. I didn't learn it from you. I learned it by myself." Ling Qing held the pot in one hand and said with a small shovel, "You have so many excuses. Eat quickly. After eating, go to see the livestock on the ranch." The two of them finished breakfast quickly. Chen Yu led Ling Qing to the ranch. After all, there were beasts roaring last night, and he was still worried about Ling Qing going to the ranch alone. When they arrived at the ranch, they found that the banana leaves that Chen Yu had covered with last night had been blown away by the strong wind. Even many of the big trees next to them were broken, and the ranch was in a mess. Fortunately, the chickens and rabbits were not damaged. Chen Yu hurriedly looked in the direction of the chicken and rabbit cages. Seeing that the chickens and rabbits were fine, he finally put down his heart. Although the chickens and rabbits were not damaged, Chen Yu knew that this was only temporary. Just like a last gasp. What happened tonight was definitely unusual, because even now, in this sunny land, Ningbo could not hear a single insect or bird chirping. Everything seemed extremely strange. So Chen Si concluded that this disaster had not ended after all, or had not yet begun, and was still brewing. For natural disasters like this, the longer they brew, the stronger the outbreak will be. Therefore, Chen Yu had to make plans early and prepare for a rainy day. According to the strong wind last night, the cages for our chickens and rabbits are still too simple, and they must be reinforced, Chen Yu said as he took Ling Qing back to the shelter. The last time he built the wall, he deliberately burned some more bricks and tiles, thinking to be prepared for any eventuality, and now they are just used to reinforce the cages in the ranch. This time, Xinyu planned to use bricks and stones to build the cages into a circle, and also laid bricks on the ground. In this way, both chickens and rabbits can safely survive this disaster, with experience in building houses and building walls in less than 2 hours. Xinyu had already built the chicken coop. Okay, now we don't have to worry about these guys anymore. Soon Xinyu and Ling Qing returned to the ranch with the rabbits and chicks they caught last night. Let's go. Let's see how our wheat is growing. Let's see if we can catch 2 more pheasants. Let them communicate more. Next to the ranch is the wheat field. But the wheat field is not as lucky as the livestock at this moment. The strong wind last night not only broke the trees, but also blew up the grass on the ground. Fortunately, this wheat field grew in the valley, so it was not blown away by the strong wind. However, because of the strong wind, the wheat that was originally straight now fell down in a large area. The wheat field that was originally golden now looked like a cat with its fur turned upside down. It seems that these wheats must be harvested. Otherwise, it won't be long before these wheats that have fallen on the ground will mold and rot. Or they will directly grow new buds and will be unusable. Ling Qing is quite good at crops. A glance at the wheat field showed that it was time to harvest. They moved immediately. Ling Qing used a saber, and Xinyu used a machete. The two of them worked together to harvest the entire wheat field in a short while. Firstly, the wheat field was not very large, so it would not take much effort, and secondly, they did not plan to plant here again next year, so they only cut the wheat ears. The stalks of the cut ears were uneven, like hair that had been cut off from the teacher. They put the long lid in the back comb, and it was full. I said it weighed several dozen kilograms. Chapter 8:11 Further Plans. Looking at the dried straw, Xinyu, in line with the principle of not wasting, still cut it down by rubbing its roots. The dried straw can be used as a nest for chickens, and as winter feed for rabbits. It can even be used to make fire, or spread on the Kong to keep warm. You should know that in the past few decades, many poor farmers simply could not afford mattresses, or at that time, they did not have the luxury of using mattresses. Therefore, dried wheat straw became the best material for their beds. The bran from the ground wheat ears can be used to make pillows. It is not only fine and soft, but also has a fresh scent of wheat. After harvesting the wheat, Xinyu couldn't wait to take it back to the yard of the shelter to dry it. In order to prevent the wheat ears from getting damp, Xinyu found thorny vines, tied them up in bundles, and hung them under the eaves. This is a method often used by farmers to air dry food. People who live in rural areas know that some families often hang crops such as corn and peppers under the eaves to dry. Okay, after a hard day's work, we're finally done. After the wheat is separated, we'll have more noodles and flour to eat. After a long sigh, Xinyu looked at the bunches of wheat ears hanging under the eaves and said happily, "These wheat ears are so beautiful. Why didn't I notice this when I was at home before?" Ling Qing looked at the golden wheat ears floating under the eaves, and his face was full of joy of harvest. They didn't even know that. The joy of their harvest at this moment was not only felt by them, but also infected the audience in the live broadcast room. The two of them worked from sunrise to sunset, and their life has aroused the envy and jealousy of countless viewers. Woo! I want to go back to my hometown. This kind of life of working Japanese style is really enviable. Please be rational upstairs. If you go back to your hometown, will your wife and children starve to death? You can go back. I will take care of my sister-in-law and nephew in the future. Get out. Get out. It's just that I really envy this kind of life. It's never as cruel as the real society. Next, the bathroom 693 should also be started. Xinyu looked at the pile of building materials on the ground and said to Ling Qing, "Yeah, this time the bathroom needs to be built closer. I don't want to run far in the winter." "Don't worry, there is a piece of land next to our house that can be built, and it's not far away." Then the two carried the wood and bamboo poles to a flat ground behind the shelter. Xinyu found a thick tree trunk, and dug out the ground like a pile driver, and evened it out. Then he laid a layer of bricks, and fired bricks for the wall. Then he made a toilet, and a series of other things needed next to it with the wood that had been cut long ago. Now the foundation is almost done, and the pillars have been set. We just need to use bamboo strips to weave around. You go and split the bamboo, and I'll weave it. Xinyu was very confident in Ling Qing's weaving skills. From the time they first entered the deserted island to now, most of the weaving they used was done by Ling Qing alone, whether it was weaving a backpack or weaving a tabletop. Although it was simple to cut bamboo, if you wanted to make bamboo strips, you needed to open the middle layer and divide it into 2 layers. The outer layer is called bamboo strips, and the inner layer is called bamboo yellow. Because bamboo yellow is too brittle, it is not suitable for weaving, so it has to be separated. This kind of work would be much easier if there is a sickle, but on this deserted island, the conditions are too restrictive. Therefore, Chinyi used the saber in his hand to split the bamboos one by one. Then, relying on his strong hand strength, he separated the bamboo yellow and bamboo strips. In a short while, he had divided a large pile of bamboo into piles of bamboo strips. While he was splitting the bamboo strips, Ling Qing had already started his weaving work. She had already measured the distance between the pillars. And Chinyu also cut the bamboo into several pieces according to the length. With Chinyu's help, a pile of bamboo pieces quickly became 7 or 8 thin walls that could block the wind. And then, they were fixed. Chinyu fitted the wall with the 4 pillars, and then found thin branches and some wooden nails to fix the wall on the pillars. In order to prevent the 4 pillars from being unstable, Chinyu also ordered 2 tree trunks from the top. The 4 pillars were fixed in triangles, and the triangles all had good stability. So now the bathroom can withstand both wind and earthquake resistance. Then, some washing utensils and Yumo's homemade bathing and showering tools were installed. After a while, a brand new bathroom was built. Yeah, it's finally finished. Our new bathroom looks very solid. Ling Qing jumped up happily. It does look good, but it feels like something is missing. Chinyu looked around the bathroom, then went to get the remaining bricks and built the bathroom solidly again. Is it necessary to make it so solid? Ling Qing looked at Chinyu's work and asked with a bit of a smile. I really added it on a whim. I think the weather is not very good these 2 days. There may be a storm. It's better to make it solid. Just when Chinyu and his friends were building their own living nest, there was a big commotion outside. Professors, report to me the operation of the meteorite now. I want real-time and specific information, Director Liao said with a cold face. A group of meteorological and astronomical experts looked at each other. In this situation, they really didn't know what to say. They had already reported yesterday that the meteorite would enter the atmosphere in the next 2 days. The armed forces in various places also began to evacuate the coastal residents. Although most of the forces have been dispatched, the land area is huge, the coastal cities are prosperous, and the population is the largest, so the evacuation work is not going very smoothly. However, after receiving the news that the disaster was about to come, most of the residents left the coastal cities. Those who really couldn't leave due to traffic problems have all been moved to a safe area. Director Liao is now almost ready for everything, except for welcoming the arrival of the meteorite. For this kind of disaster, it is better to avoid it as much as possible. Therefore, although the people have been evacuated, Director Yu is still angry. Director Liao, we have been following up in real time these 2 days, and now we have further plans and programs. The gray-haired expert adjusted his glasses on the bridge of his nose and said to Director Liao, tell me what specific plans and programs you have. After all, you are only responsible for providing plans. Whether you can implement them is also a question. Director Liao's expression did not change at all, looking at the group of experts in front of him. Although these guys have a solid theoretical foundation, when it comes to specific practical operations, they still have to be handed over to professionals. It's like that. The meteorite has hit countless celestial bodies on its orbit, and its volume has further shrunk. Although the meteorite is smaller in size, it carries a lot more fragments. But don't worry about it. When it enters the atmosphere, those small fragments will be burned up. Chapter 8:12 Finding a Safe Place. According to the professor's observations, after being hit all the way, the size of this meteorite has shrunk to 1/3 of that of a human being, which greatly reduces the degree of the disaster. And after entering the atmosphere, it will only burn due to friction with the atmosphere, and the small meteorite fragments will be burned out, leaving only the main body of the meteorite. When the time comes, we will use anti-aircraft missiles to blow up the main body of the meteorite. Because of the friction of the atmosphere, the meteorite will shrink further, and the disaster this time should not be too serious. Under the professor's solemn assurances, Director Liao quickly made specific arrangements for the matter. The higher-ups have already given him all the defense work this time. If the people's property is severely damaged, Director Liao cannot shirk responsibility. At this time, the live broadcast room also received the news of the meteorite landing. Teacher Xiao, what do you think about the meteorite landing this time? Will it affect our wilderness live broadcast? In the special live broadcast room, Yubin asked Xiao Chong with a microphone. This is indeed a problem worthy of attention. After all, The meteorite landed in the sea this time, and the friends participating in the competition should be reminded to pay attention to safety. Now the experts have determined the location of the meteorite landing, which is in the sea not far from the deserted island where Chinyu and his friends are seeking survival. Although the experts have repeatedly confirmed the feasibility of smashing the meteorite this time, many people still doubt it and worry that it will cause a major disaster. But the contestants don't have to worry too much. An expert friend of mine told me that the meteorite being smashed by a missile will not cause much impact. Worried that the meteorite falling from the sky would cause an uproar, Xiao Chong comforted the crowd in the live broadcast room. So for this incident, does Teacher Xie have anything to say to the contestants? After asking Xiao Chong's opinion, Yubin turned to ask Xietingting, which is Yubin's usual style, asking this and that. Well, although this meteorite incident will not cause much impact, but the friends who are seeking survival should still put safety first. Find a safe place as soon as possible and build a shelter in advance. Xietingting's voice was sweet, and she suggested that those who participated in the survival should stay away from the coast. Find a new shelter in advance, and pay attention to avoid the invasion of waves, since both teachers have said so. And the friends participating in this competition do not know the news of the meteorite. For the safety of the participating friends, we decided to broadcast the news by helicopter to remind friends to pay attention. In fact, this is also the company's arrangement. In the previous wave attack and the beasts dispatched last night, 3 or 4 contestants have disappeared. If this continues, if another contestant goes missing, it will probably cause a bigger wave. Although an agreement was signed when participating in the competition, it still cannot withstand the discussion in the space. Not to mention that every time someone is killed or injured, it will cause a bombardment in the live broadcast room. Not long after Yubin left last night, more than a dozen helicopters set off one after another, using high-pitched loudspeakers to broadcast the meteorite incident in a loop throughout the island. What? There is a meteorite about to fall, and it is not far from the island. Oh my god! We will not be drowned by the tsunami caused by the meteorite landing. Right? No. No. This is too dangerous. If it doesn't work, I can only withdraw. As the news of the meteorite landing spread on the island, each group discussed it. Some groups with poor psychological quality even wanted to quit directly. Chunyu, what should we do? A meteorite is about to fall. What should we do? Ling Qing also became nervous after hearing the news, and asked Chinyu while grabbing his arm. No wonder Chinyu's eyelids have been twitching these days, making him feel uneasy. Although he never believed that the left eye twitching brings wealth, and the right eye twitching brings disaster. But unexpectedly, it actually came true this time. This also made Chinyu believe more in his body's instinctive reaction when he encountered a disaster. Compared with animals, the instinct of human beings to sense danger has been seriously degraded. But perhaps because of the system reinforcement, Chinyu's instinct has been strengthened. His eyelids have been twitching, and his restlessness is a sign. However, he has never experienced it before, and he can't understand this sign at all. From the current situation, Chinyu has a certain degree of perception not only of the upcoming danger, but also of the current situation. Don't worry. Didn't the experts say that this time the meteorite landed in the sea? It would cause a huge disaster. What's more, in order to prevent crises like the last storm, our current address has almost moved to the top of the mountain. And even if a tsunami occurs, it will not affect us. Chinyu looked at Ling Qing and smiled to comfort him. This time, when moving to the new shelter, and when building it, we had this preparation. On this island, we must always be on guard against disasters. With the lessons learned from the last time, the location of the shelter and the strength of its construction have been greatly strengthened this time. Now their shelter has improved its defense capabilities to a terrifying level. Even if the storm is several times stronger than the last time, they will be safe and sound. Moreover, facing the impending disaster this time, Chinyu has been fully prepared. There is no need to worry about the livestock raised in the ranch. The wheat in the back has been harvested, and the food reserves are sufficient. The food stored now will not be a problem for them to survive for 1 or 2 months. This kind of disaster does not happen often, and it will not last long. It will calm down in 2 or 3 days at most, and they will be able to go out by then. It doesn't matter even if it lasts for a long time. Anyway, their location is safe enough, and the reserves are rich enough, so there is no need to worry. After hearing Chinyu's words, Ling Qing's nervous heart gradually relaxed. I didn't expect that you would have thought of preventing these disasters in advance. I was worried for nothing and scared myself to death. Ling Qing rolled her eyes at Qinyu and said with a curled lip. She didn't expect that Qinyu had already prepared for this kind of disaster at sea again. This made her feel safer about Yumu again. Well, let's go. While the disaster hasn't happened yet. Let's go harvest again. Qinyu took Ling Qing with him and walked to the beach with a backpack on his back. It has been several days since they last cast their fishing nets. I wonder if they caught any fish. Before the last storm, their shelter was close to the sea, which made it convenient to go fishing. Now the shelter has been built on the top of the mountain. Although it is much safer, it is also much farther away from the sea. Enough to walk for a while. Ling Qing wore a small straw hat woven with leaves on her head to protect herself from the sun. Qinyu simply used a banana leaf to cover his head. The hat was woven by Ling Qing herself. She even wanted to make one for Qinyu. But for the sake of time, Qinyu refused. Chapter 8:13 Pets. This made Ling Qing pout and get angry for a while. In fact, according to Qinyu's current physical strength, some strong sunlight doesn't need to be taken seriously. The strong sunlight that is harmful to others not only can't hurt his skin, it will even make his body healthier. After all, the sunlight carries many substances that are beneficial to the body, but ordinary people's bodies cannot absorb them, but he accepts them all. Therefore, in order to save time, Qinyu didn't let Ling Qing spend more time knitting a hat for him. Instead, he casually took a piece of banana leaf to block the glaring light. After a long journey, the two of them came to the place where they had cast the net. Ling Qing was also a little tired. He looked at the few coconuts left on the coconut tree. Qinyu stood up and picked them up in a short while. Qinyu was very strong. He directly cut the coconut shell with a military knife. The sweet coconut juice flowed down his hand. He handed the cut coconut to Ling Qing, and Qinyu also grabbed one and drank it with relish. Under the scorching sun, it seemed very comfortable. The two of them took a short break and pulled out the fishing net. It had been several days since I last came to see it. The harvest was indeed good. Several big and small blue crabs, a conger eel, and a few eels. What surprised Qinyu the most was that there were 7 or 8 sea cucumbers in the net. I don't know why these sea cucumbers got into the fishing net. You know, Qinyu set up this fishing net after the storm. Logically speaking, these things in the seawater at that time should have receded with the tide. No matter what the reason, since it is in Qinyu's hands, it will be a rich seafood feast. Especially sea cucumbers, which are rich in collagen and various nutrients, not only beautify the skin, and are often eaten as health supplements. The price of things outside is calculated by thousands of yuan, even if you have it. You don't have the opportunity to eat it often. Drag the fish in the net to the shore and put it in the backpack. Qinyu continued to walk towards the other 2 fishing nets. One of the nets seemed to be broken by something, the bait was eaten up, and nothing was caught. The last net did not disappoint Qinyu. Although there were not many fish in the net. Only 3 fish and a small turtle. But 2 of them were extremely valuable groupers. Although I don't know what kind of grouper it is. This kind of fish is definitely rare in the market. And the price is indeed prohibitive for ordinary people. This trip was not in vain. I didn't expect to harvest so much. Ling Qing teased the little turtle while raising his head and said to Qinyu, "I'm so hot in the sun. It's time to go back." Qinyu walked over and kicked the little turtle into the sea with a light kick. "Oh, that's annoying. The little turtle is so cute. I was planning to keep it as a pet. Why did you kick it away?" Seeing his beloved little turtle kicked into the sea by Qinyu, Ling Qing jumped up anxiously. This turtle is too small and not tasty. It can't live long away from the sea. Are you sure you want to keep it? Qinyu pulled Ling Qing up and explained as he walked. There was also a lot of discussion in the live broadcast room at this time. My goddess Ling Qing is still adorable. She actually wants to keep a small turtle as a pet. Uh-huh. Didn't you hear what my Momo said? Turtles can't survive if they leave the water for too long. TSK. TSK. Didn't you hear it? He said that turtles are too small and not tasty. 0 if he finds something edible. It will definitely go into his stomach. He wants to eat everything he sees. Qinyu is a foodie. Identification completed. You have a big heart to say that. On that deserted island. It's good enough to have something to eat. How dare you be picky? It was noisy here. But the other group on the other side of the island was not as lucky as Qinyu and his team. Sister Nan, are we really going to abandon the shelter? We just built it. Reba looked at the simple shelter in front of her. her eyes full of reluctance. In this group, there were only 2 of them left. After surviving the difficult storm, the 2 built a shelter not far from the beach. Although it looked extremely simple, it could barely shelter from the wind and rain. Besides, the 2 women had limited strength, and being able to achieve this level was beyond the reach of many men. This is also the reason why the number of fans in their live broadcast room has increased rapidly recently. After the 2 male team members left, Reba and Xiao Chuan's situation was not very good. After leaving the original shelter, they could only set up camp here again. After last night's strong wind, and the helicopter broadcast across the island, Reba and Xiao Chuan already knew the upcoming crisis. Xiao Chuan was very reluctant to leave the newly built shelter. You know, in order to build this new shelter, I spent a lot of effort on them. Leaving was a certainty. While the meteorite had not yet fallen, the weather was clear, and the wild animals were hiding, Xiao Chuan decided to set out to find a new base. After all, their shelter was by the sea, and because of the last storm, they also caught a small amount of fish at the seaside 30. The nearby branches were full of seafood. This was a school of fish that Reba and Xiao Chuan encountered after the storm, and was blocked in a small pond. The 2 of them made a prompt decision, building a shelter here, and drying the seafood in the puddle into fish jerky. Fortunately, they were lucky. Soon after the seafood dried, the helicopter broadcast that a meteorite was about to fall. That's why they decided to move to a higher place. If they stayed on the beach, the rising tide would easily sweep them away. Well, let's go! With so many dried seafood, we can hold on for 10 days or so. There is no problem at all, Xiao Chuan said as he put away the seafood. Pack up quickly. We need to find a new shelter before dark. Otherwise, it will be dangerous tonight. As he said this, the little virgin's hands moved faster. After a while, the 2 of them finished collecting the fishing rods that were drying around them, and filled a bulging snakeskin bag. Reba and Xiao Chuan each took half and carried it on their shoulders, and walked up the mountain with all the equipment. The fans in the live broadcast room watched silently, and the tenacious appearance of the 2 weak women moved a large number of people. My Reba, come on, you are the most beautiful. Haha, my goddess Ling Qing from Group 2 is the most beautiful. Go back to your Group 2 live broadcast room, we don't welcome you here. Haha, Ling Qing is just relying on Chenyu. If there was no Chenyu, she would have been eliminated long ago. A bunch of ignorant women, I'm too lazy to argue with you. Why do women have to make things difficult for other women? Quick! 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 All residents, leave immediately, and in an orderly manner. The storm tonight is stronger than ever before, evacuate immediately. In the coastal residential areas, armed comrades are carrying out a tense evacuation. Although the situation was reported as critical, some people did not take it seriously. This also demonstrated the strength of the armed forces. For the benefit of the people, even those who did not want to leave had to pack their bags and hurry to get on the bus. However, there were too many people to evacuate, and even with a large number of traffic police on duty, traffic congestion was inevitable. Chapter 814 Recompensation. At this time, the Railway Transportation Department showed unprecedented strength. All coastal residents were transported by military vehicles and left one by one, and boarded the train to the shelter. Director Liao stood on the top of the tallest building in Binhai, watching the dense crowds of people being transferred one by one, and his worries gradually subsided. As long as no one was hurt, any loss could be compensated, but if no one was alive, how could it be compensated? A group of experts behind Director Liao kept calculating and discussing. This time, they were arranged to be the last, because they had to wait for the last moment when the meteorite entered the atmosphere, and use the most accurate angle to make a fatal blow to the meteorite. The sky gradually darkened, and the night wind blew and whistled. It was another windy night. Chenyu and Ling Qing had packed up their supplies, and were ready to wait for the meteorite to land. They didn't plan to go out for the next 2 days, just to give themselves a holiday. On the other hand, the radio said that the meteorite would fall today, but the specific time could not be determined. Something like this could happen at any time. Without accurate information, no one dared to run around. Once they ran out, what would they do if a meteorite hit them on their heads? Chenyu thought. Probably most of the groups wanted to stay safely in the shelter. Looking at the strong wind outside the window, Chenyu seemed very calm. At this moment, even Xiao Chuan and Reba, who were moving to higher places, stopped. Without a shelter or a selected location, The two of them just walked towards the top of the mountain. As the two of them went up the mountain, Reba was sharp-eyed and found a cave, which seemed to be abandoned by bears or other animals. After observing for a long time and seeing no animals, the two of them walked in bravely. The cave was spacious, bright, and well ventilated. After all, it was too late to build a temporary shelter now, so they had no choice but to live in the cave. The walls of the cave were all made of hard stones, so there was no need to worry about Shandong collapsing. Xiao Chuneng carefully walked around and found some feces of large animals, and spread them around the cave entrance to prevent other animals from entering by mistake. With these feces, normal beasts will leave directly after smelling the smell. Because wild animals have a strong sense of territory, they will not tolerate the existence of other species in their own territory, and they will not intrude into other people's territory at will. After cleaning up for a long time, Reba and Xiao Chunen finally settled down in this cave, started a fire, and silently waited for the storm to come. At this time, in the special live broadcast room. Dear viewers, hello everyone. Now everyone has seen that the storm is coming. This storm has a great impact, so our drone live broadcast will be temporarily suspended. When the storm comes, the wireless cameras in the contestants' hands will be used to shoot. We will notify the contestants and ensure that the audience can watch. You've been said to the audience with a smile in front of the stage. As soon as you've been finished speaking, the helicopter on the island started broadcasting, and each group heard it clearly. Dear contestants, the upcoming storm will make it impossible for the drone to continue to follow up and shoot. The next shooting will be replaced by the wireless cameras in your hands. By the way, after the drone screen disappears, the content you broadcast will attract more fans for you. After the broadcast sounded several times in a row, the drone returned directly to the base, and the live broadcast was suddenly interrupted. Yuma, did you hear that? Drones can't shoot anymore. We have to shoot with cameras. Ling Qin took out a camera from the storage after hearing the live broadcast and handed it to Qinyu. Then what should we shoot? The host said that what we shoot can increase our fans. Ling Qin said excitedly. Yubin is lying. Don't believe it. Qinyu leaned against the bed and looked at the treetops dancing wildly in the wind outside. Why? Why did he lie to us? Ling Qin was like a curious little baby. What a silly girl. Because of the big storm, their drones couldn't shoot. Then the live broadcast room's picture was cut off, and people couldn't watch it. Where did they get the income? As for what he said about increasing fans, think about it. Everyone's picture is gone, only yours is on. If others don't watch yours, whose will they watch? Of course you will increase fans. Moreover, usually it is difficult for drones to observe at close range, or enter the shelter, but now there is this opportunity to see the shelter. Of course whoever takes the most exciting picture will increase fans. Qinyu put his hands behind his head, looked at Ling Qin who was fiddling with the camera, and said lightly, "Humph, you are the stupid one. I just pretended not to know, just to test you. Do you want to shoot or not? If you don't, I will." Ling Qin came to Qinyu with the camera. "You shoot, I'm too lazy to do it. It's time to let them see the luxury of our house," Qinyu said, helping Ling Qin turn on the camera. "It's already turned on, it's connected, you shoot." Qinyu handed the camera to Ling Qin. "Humph. Let me take pictures. I'll make you look ugly for my fans to see." Qinyu shook his hand, turning his eyes to the distant sky. He was also looking forward to the landing of the meteorite. This was his first chance to see a meteorite in more than 20 years. Hello everyone, welcome to watch Qinyu and I's live broadcast. This is my first time shooting, and I don't know what to shoot, so I'll just show you around. Ling Qin took the camera and took pictures here and there, walking around, chattering non-stop. The live broadcast room was originally dark, but when the screen of the second group lit up, the number of fans watching increased exponentially. Wow! It's my goddess Ling Qin. This is the goddess live broadcasting in person. It really feels like you are there. Lick. Keep licking. No wonder you have nothing. A bunch of superficial people. Look at brother Qinyu lying in front of the window. His deep eyes are the most handsome. Upstairs +1 +666 anyway. I hope no one will go missing in this storm. I suddenly realized. Why is there only one Kong? My goddess. 555 just discovered? I saw it a long time ago. I can't tell you if I can't see it. My Chunyu. Why don't you wait for me? 55 There is no difference between male and female nymphomaniacs. Ling Qin patted east and west. And after a while, he felt that it was not interesting anymore. Put down the camera. rubbed his sore arm, and looked out the window quietly with Chinyu. Don't watch it. What will happen later is not suitable for children. Goodbye. Seeing that the camera was still on, Chinyu walked over with a smile and said something, then turned it off. Oh no, my goddess. Why, do you still want to watch the sequel in the second half of the night? Am I the one who lacks that 3 minutes of traffic? Am I the one who lacks that 2 hours of traffic? Chinyu's behavior caused public outrage in the live broadcast room, and a group of people shouted to denounce Chinyu. It's a pity that Chinyu couldn't see the barrage, otherwise he would be abused again. Chapter 8:15 Lightning and Thunder. At midnight, the storm that was supposed to come finally came, accompanied by bursts of thunder, and the storm crashed to the ground. The seawater was rising, and it kept rushing to the shore, slapping the rocks on the shore, making a deafening sound. That night, Chinyu did not sleep. One was for safety, so that he could move at any time. The other was to see the falling meteorite, or it should be called a meteor. Boom! Boom! Lightning and thunder. At this moment, Director Liao had left Binhai and sat down in a reconnaissance booth on a high mountain. Various meteorological experts and astronomers were constantly busy. Please note, according to satellite detection, the meteorite will reach the Earth in 30 seconds and enter the atmosphere. 30, 29, 28. 10, 9, 8. 3, 2, 1 missile launch. As the meteorite entered the atmosphere, the 8,000-meter anti-aircraft missile on the ground was launched. The huge missile ejected a long-tail flame and roared into the sky. According to Director Liao's plan, use a giant missile to intercept the meteorite in the ozone layer. First, divide the huge meteorite into small pieces. Then observe the situation. If there are many meteorite fragments, use small missiles to bomb again at high altitude near the ground. Ensure that the loss of the meteorite landing is minimized. This is not only an explanation to the superiors, but also an explanation to the people. And even more so to himself. Boom! The dark cloud suddenly glowed with red light, lighting up a large area. Chinyu, who had resisted the urge to sleep in front of the window, opened his eyes wide and looked at the sky. He knew that the interception of the meteorite had begun. However, the distance was too far, and there were clouds blocking the way, so it was impossible to observe directly with the naked eye. All that could be seen was the dazzling red light produced by the collision between the missile and the meteorite. Report to the director, the first interception was very successful, and the fragments brought by the meteorite from space have been burned out. However, the main body of the meteorite has been blown up, and the debris is scattered all around. Very good. Prepare for the second stage of interception immediately. Try to intercept all the fragments on the ground. Do not cause any damage to the people's property. Director Liao looked at the sky gloomily, and gradually revealed a hint of joy. As long as the first wave of summary is successful, the remaining meteorite fragments will not be a concern. Even if there are fish that slip through the net, it is unlikely to cause much threat. Boom! This time, the sound was no longer thunder, but a sonic boom caused by the collision between the missile and the meteorite fragments near the ground. This situation also led to the appearance of meteor showers caused by the meteorite falling from the sky in many live broadcasts. This can be regarded as a spectacle. Boom! Most people were smashed and burned into powder, and a small amount of fragments still fell to the ground. In Binhai, because the missile interception failed, some meteorite fragments directly hit the residential area. The powerful shock waves smashed the ground into a series of craters. Bang! Not far from the island, a piece of meteorite with a blue glow smashed into the sea. The tide, which had surged due to the storm, was now like an angry bull. The strong wind swept up a large amount of seawater and washed the coast. The powerful impact of the meteorite created a force almost like a tsunami. The surging seawater almost rushed to the middle of the mountain. Chinyu's original shelter was completely submerged. There was no trace of it under the scouring of the seawater. Chinyu opened his mouth wide, looking at the might of nature in amazement, and could not help but feel 1,000 emotions in his heart. Compared with such a powerful force of nature, how small are humans? Just like ants. There is no power to resist, or even the heart to resist. Think about the boasts made by modern humans. What conquering nature? Theory of man conquering nature. Under the impact of reality, it was shattered to the ground, and could not be picked up. System prompt. System prompt. The essence of Tianqin meteorite is detected. Prompt 1. The azure Tianqin, as deep as a dream? Prompt 2. To facilitate the host to find meteorites, the detection function is temporarily opened. When there is meteorite within a certain range, the system will give a prompt. Release task. Find the essence of Tianqi meteorite and get system rewards. Reward: confidential, increase or decrease according to the number of meteorites. Limited time: within 3 days after the storm. Punishment: confiscate 2 lottery opportunities. Open new function, identification. Personal attributes. Just when Qin Yu was still surprised, the Domination Wilderness System suddenly issued a prompt and inexplicably issued a task. This was the first time Qin Yu had seen such a situation, which gave him a headache. However, when he saw the punishment measures, he actually had to take back 2 chances to draw the lottery. He felt very sad when he thought about it. Moreover, this task had a time limit. Within 3 days after the storm, he had to find the essence of the Tianqi meteorite. It was really difficult. Fortunately, the system had a detection function, which made it easier for him to find meteorites. Otherwise, if a small meteorite fell into the vast ocean, where would he find it? But even with the detection function, it was not an easy job. After all, the dangers in the deep sea are more frightening than those on land. Even if he saw the area where the meteorite fell into the sea, it would be difficult to find it. The depth of the sea is unfathomable, and the dangers there are unimaginable. However, since the system has issued this task, it means that it should be achievable. Moreover, the Tianqi meteorite may not fall into the sea, but may fall on the land near the sea. However, if it falls on land, it will be even more difficult. Now he is on a deserted island, there are not many people he can contact, it is even more difficult to find the meteorite. And this essence is obviously divided into several pieces, so the system will give rewards according to the amount found. After thinking about it, Qin Yu looked at the sea where the meteorite fell, build a boat tomorrow, and go to that sea area to have a look. If he can find it, that's good. If he can't find it, then he will have to ask someone to search on land. If it doesn't work, he will pay the host Yubin to search outside. He doesn't believe that he can't find a stone even if he pays money. After all, there are not many wilderness survival players as strong as him. Although he didn't have much money, he thought that the live broadcast rewards in the past 2 months should not be less. And even if the rewards were not enough, he would just hold on until the end of the year. By then, he and Ling Qing would split the 400 million equally, which would be enough. By then, let alone finding a meteorite, it would be more than enough to buy a star. Although the mission time would have passed, how bad could something that the system value be? After figuring this out, Qin Yu glanced at the still howling storm, turned around and hugged Ling Qing, and gradually fell asleep. Chapter 816 Fragment Collection. For many people, this is a sleepless night. For example, Director Liao, after the missile breaks up the meteorite, there is still a series of follow-up work to be done. Although the losses caused by this disaster are not large, it is a natural disaster, and the insurance company will compensate the victims. What he has to do now is to order the soldiers to collect the meteorite fragments and other missile fragments. It is not known whether the meteorite fragments are dangerous. It is better not to fall into the hands of ordinary people. As for the missile fragments, they belong to the state property, and we should try to recycle them if possible. If they fall on the people, it will also cause some adverse effects. The next day, the weather was clear. It seemed as if the storm last night had never happened. It seemed that nothing had changed. Only the thick trees that were broken by the wind could prove the violent weather last night. Qin Yu got up very early, because he was worried that the livestock on the ranch would be attacked by the rainstorm. Qin Yu went to the ranch to check it out early in the morning. After the ranch was processed by him again, the quality was beyond reproach. The pheasants and rabbits were still there. Quietly, 2 little wild boars, and 3 wild goats, 1 big and 2 small, were sleeping soundly in the corner. It seemed that even the storm last night did not affect them. After following Qin Yu, the lives of these animals were much better than before. They did not have to worry about the source of food, nor did they have to go to other people's group lunches. What you have to worry about now is that you do not know when you will become the nutrients in Qin Yu's stomach. However, except for the female goat, the other 4 are still young, and it is too early for them to become a meal. The little leopard Ban Ban has grown a lot. After 2 storms, this little guy is getting braver. A few days ago, he even learned to chase pheasants in the pasture. He chased the chickens raised in his own pen, so he was beaten up by Qin Yu. After Qin Yu's teachings, the little guy opened his innocent big eyes, and shook his head to look at Qin Yu and nodded. As the little leopard grows up, his ability to understand Qin Yu's language is further strengthened. I believe that it won't be long before I can fully understand what Qin Yu says. Of course, This requires the use of the second-level animal language ability. When Chinyu came back, Ling Qing had already gotten up and even prepared breakfast. As time went by, everything felt dull. Today, Ling Qing had already cleaned the jackal legs, cut them into pieces with a sharp military knife, and used them for breakfast. The jackal leg meat looked very tender. After a series of complicated processes of marinating, it was smoked with precious wood from Hiroshima. Not only can it be preserved for a long time, it also removes the earthy smell and retains the fresh and smooth taste of the meat. The meat marinated with countless spices fully absorbs the flavors of various seasonings. And during the smoking process, the hot smoke has already roasted the meat half-cooked, with bursts of the original fragrance of wood. Ling Qing soaked the cut meat slices in oil, fished them out, and put them aside. Then put the onion, ginger and garlic in the pot, stir-fry them for a while, pour the meat slices in and stir evenly. A rosin meat slice is done just like this. Chinyu secretly admired it in his heart. It has only been a short time, and Ling Qing has already studied the cooking skills thoroughly. Now her cooking skills are better than her master. What a nice smell. This dish seems to be full of the smell of sunshine, and it makes people feel relaxed and happy just by smelling it. Chinyu did not hesitate to praise her, and Ling Qing was overjoyed. Eat quickly, and after you finish eating, we will go to collect some hematite later, Chinyu said while eating, and he still understood the principle of sharpening the knife before chopping wood. If he wanted to go out to sea to look for the gem, the only way was to build a boat first. Otherwise, with such a long distance, even with his current physical strength, he would not have the strength to look for it after swimming there. The tools are almost complete. Why do you need iron ore? Ling Qing didn't know what Chinyu was going to do, and asked in confusion. Last night, I saw the meteorite fragments fall into the sea over there. I will go and look for it later. You know, there are many people collecting meteorites outside now. Meteorites like this should be able to sell for a good price. Chinyu picked up a piece of meat for Ling Qing, while thinking about how to build a boat in his mind. Are we going to search for it in the sea? That's too dangerous. Or let's not search for it. Anyway, if we hold on to the end, we will each have 200 million. Ling Qing didn't understand the importance of the meteorite. Thinking of the dangers in the sea, he began to worry. After Chenyu's explanation and various safety guarantees, Ling Qing was relieved. If you want to build a solid boat, the materials must not be too simple, and the shipbuilding process is relatively complicated, which is impossible to complete with their current tools. Therefore, Chinyu thought of looking for some more iron or to make two common items such as a sword and a sickle. After a morning of transportation, Chinyu and Ling Qing quickly brought back enough iron ore. So, they lit the kiln. When the coal in the kiln burned to the peak, Chinyu put the iron ore in piece by piece. The small kiln was transformed by Chinyu again, and this time coal was used as fuel. So the temperature and endurance were obviously much higher than before. This way, there is no need for someone to be on guard all the time, which makes it easier for Chinyu to go out and look for supplies. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the 3-month Wilderness Survival Achievement 1. Catch live wild boars *2, reward achievement points 30. Bake bricks *288, reward achievement points 3. Kill pheasants and rabbits *13, reward achievement points 13. Kill wild bears *1, reward achievement points 50. Kill jackals *25, reward achievement points 100. Build toilets *1, reward achievement points 5. Kill cheetahs *1, reward achievement points *50. Catch baby leopards *1, reward achievement points 20. Comprehensive achievement points reward 50. Comprehensive evaluation. Good, but according to your ability, you can do better. I just met with the system yesterday. I didn't expect the achievement rewards to be issued today. This is too timely. Especially the achievement points obtained by killing the jackal made him very happy. However, this was also the result of his desperate efforts. That fight with the jackal almost killed him in the beast's mouth, and he was unconscious for a whole day. Therefore, it was natural for him to get such a rich achievement points. This was the reward for his efforts. If all the achievement points were added to the attributes of his body, he would have an extraordinary transformation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new ability, Crisis Sensing. Do you want to unlock the new ability? As soon as he heard the name, Chinyu knew that this was a very practical skill. It was similar to the Sixth Sense, but it was strengthened countless times. In general, it was equivalent to Spider-Man's Spider Sense. Chapter 817 Excellent Skills. However, such excellent skills will definitely not be cheap. Chunyu, who had already gone through the system twice, smiled coldly. How many achievement points will it take to unlock the sexual ability this time? Answer the host. The new ability opened this time is extremely practical and has a wide range of applications. It is more commonly used than the beast language last time, but it only requires 290 achievement points. 290? Why don't you go and rob it? I worked hard for more than a month and only got a little over 300. You took away 300 from me in a flash? Then I'm going to starve? Congratulations to the host for successfully opening the new ability, Crisis Sensing. Achievement points remaining, 31. Please distribute it freely as soon as possible. Task update reminder. Due to the influence of unstoppable external forces, the essence of Tianqi meteorite is scattered everywhere. Considering the host's current situation, the task time is automatically extended to the end of this survival competition. Look forward to seeing the host next month. Just like that, the system left 31 achievement points, a new ability, and extended the task time, and then left quietly. Fortunately, the task time has changed now, so there is no need to be too anxious. But it is better to search as soon as possible, to avoid more troubles at night. After thinking for a while, Chinyu decided to build the boat first, and find the meteorite fragment in the sea. As for the rest, I will slowly think of a way later. I took a look at my attributes, and decided to allocate points. Name, Jingmal, male, strength, 35 speed, 24 healing, 19 cold and heat resistance, 15 physical fitness, 21 physical strength, 22 considering the problem of dealing with winter. Jingmal first added 5 points to cold and heat resistance. The rest are rounded up to integers, physical fitness plus 4, physical strength plus 3, healing plus 1, speed plus 6, strength plus 5. In this way, each attribute is developed in a balanced manner. Strength, 40 speed, 30 healing, 20 cold and heat resistance, 20 physical fitness, 25 physical strength, 25 remaining achievement points, 7 the remaining 7 achievement points, just keep them for backup. If there is an emergency, these 7 achievement points may become the key to turning defeat into victory. Chinyu closed his eyes and concentrated, carefully feeling the power in his body at this moment. He could clearly feel that, even without weapons, relying on his physical strength, he could fight the stinky bear without losing. In a short while, the iron ore in the pottery bowl had melted into molten iron. Based on the experience of casting axes and machetes last time, Ningbo was familiar with filtering impurities in the molten iron one by one. After a busy afternoon, until the sunset, all the iron ore was melted into molten iron at the end of the year. While it was still early, Chinyu quickly poured the molten iron into the mold, covered it, cooled it, solidified it, and repaired it. A rough-looking saw and a blade were quickly formed. In order to facilitate the fixing of the wood, he specially cast thousands of nails this time. He worked until late at night, and finally finished the work. Ling Qing, who had been helping out, also took the time to prepare dinner. My dear Mr. Chinyu, it's time to eat. You've worked hard today. Ling Qing playfully invited Chinyu, and handed him a sweat towel warmly. Seeing her like this, Chinyu smiled and walked to the dining table. Wow, why is today's dinner so rich? The table was filled with various dishes that smelled delicious. Chinyu's mouth was watering. Ling Qing used the purple sweet potato I asked for last time to make a candied purple sweet potato. Although it was different from candied potatoes, they were not much different in essence. The braised bear paw in the middle of the table surprised Chinyu. I didn't expect Ling Qing's cooking skills to have improved to this extent during this period. Chinyu poked the bear paw lightly with chopsticks. The bear paw was cooked thoroughly, and a hole was made. The bright oil immediately overflowed. Chinyu picked up a piece of bear paw meat with chopsticks, put it in his mouth and savored it slowly. At this time, in order to make the filming more attractive, Chinyu took out the camera directly, facing the pile of delicacies on the table, and just randomly filmed. He filmed, explained, and ate with his mouth full of oil, looking at the crowd of spectators in the live broadcast room. He said he couldn't stand it. Ah! It's simply delicious. To be favored by Ling Qing. Chinyu is really lucky. Mom, I want to eat meat so much. Alas, I haven't eaten meat for 3 years. I can only watch Chinyu's live broadcast to satisfy my craving. My instant noodles are almost ready. Everyone, drink. I want to eat bear meat so much. Even a bone will do. The one upstairs is born in the year of the dog? while the bones that Chinyu threw on the ground after chewing are still warm. Why don't you ask the program team to bring them to you? Same explanation. +1, by the way. Bring me one too. Nice move, bring me one too. Come on, eat more. Ling Qing kept putting a big piece of bear paw into Chinyu's bowl while eating. You should eat more too. Bear paw is rich in collagen. Not only can it beautify and nourish the skin, but also can regulate all aspects of the body's quality. Chinyu also put a piece of bear paw into Ling Qing's bowl while talking. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yu. Ling Qing's eyes were almost curved into two crescents, and his face was full of happiness. Damn. It's not enough to tempt us with food. You also need dog food? Those two who want to eat bones. Do you want dog food now? This wave of dog food is more filling than eating. I can't stand it anymore. I want to eat my girlfriend to satisfy my craving. Is your girlfriend still alive? Where is her family from? She's good quality? Come on. Here's the address. Take it. No thanks. Drive upstairs. The evidence is solid. And the arrest is approved immediately. Because Chen Yu and Ling Qing show their affection every day. The live broadcast room has once again set off a shocking wave. After dinner, I fed the pigs and sheep as usual, raised chickens and rabbits. I also found a mother goat, and learned about the recent weather conditions. It was a peaceful night, and the roars of animals, and the chirping of insects began to sound again. The lively Yu has regained its former vitality. Because the tools are ready, Chen Yu is going to chop trees today. And Ling Qing is not idle either. While peeling the bark of the tree, he is designing the shape of the boat to be built. It is just a small boat for two people, but it is not the kind of raft made of logs. Chen Yu planned to saw the wood into planks first, and then nail them one by one to make a real boat. There were still 8 or 9 months left. If there were not enough survival supplies in the future, he could go fishing with a small boat. Moreover, the risk factor was lower on the coast close to the land, and the harvest would definitely be abundant. After all, this was an island isolated from the outside world all year round, uninhabited, without human footprints, and no overfishing, coupled with the suitable climate and the large amount of fresh water injected into the island. The rich products near the coast can be imagined. In the past few months, even if they were just on the shore, Chen Yu and his team had harvested a lot of seafood. Yumu cut down more than 7 or 8 large trees in one go, peeled and debranched them, and dragged them all to the beach on the coast. Chen Yu planned to make his own boat on the beach. After all, in the shelter, it would be troublesome to transport the boat after it was built. But it was different here. After the boat was built, it could be dried directly in the sun. Then brush it with the rubber extracted by Chen Yu, which not only prevented insects, but also prevented erosion after being soaked in seawater. Chapter 8:18 Shelving. Sawing wood into planks is not an easy task. Chen Yu first built a sawing platform with sticks, and then placed the wood to be used on the saw. In the countryside, generally, 2 people saw the planks, one on the top and one on the bottom, for easy use of force. But according to the strength of the year end, there is no need for 2 people at all. He can pull the whole saw with one hand. And he can't find a second person who can cooperate with him to pull the saw on this deserted island. Although Ling Qing could do it, she was a girl after all, so her strength was still a little weak. Now his strength had reached a terrifying 40 points. Even if 10 ordinary people came, they would not be his opponents. Cutting wood was easy for him. Chen Yu moved the wood to the saw table 30, fixed it with iron nails, and used the ink fountain and ink line that had been prepared long ago to make marks on the smooth wood. Then, with the help of Ling Qing, Chen Yu sawed all the wood into planks in just 2 hours. This kind of intense work is really tiring. Chen Yu shook off the sweat on his forehead, and said to Ling Qing with a smile, "Of course, don't say you are tired from sawing. I feel tired just watching from the side." Ling Qing looked at the 2 large piles of wooden boards that had been sawed, and wiped the sweat from Chen Yu's temples with heartache. Next, just put these wooden boards together according to the drawings, and make a small boat. Chen Yu looked at the results of his work for the whole afternoon, although he felt a little tired, but his heart was full of joy. Yes, the rubber I picked has been boiled. As long as your boat is bound, we can apply rubber at any time. Let's go. It's getting dark. Let's go back today. We'll build a boat tomorrow. After saying that, Chen Yu hugged Ling Qing's slender waist and walked back to the shelter. The busy day ended just like that. The next morning, Chen Yu carried a whole wooden barrel of nails and 2 bags of rubber on his back and continued to build a boat. although it was Chen Yu's first time to build a boat. He had all kinds of experience in building a shelter before, so it shouldn't be a problem to build a small boat. Suzuki did what he said. According to the drawing, he put the wooden boards together. Bang, 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 with the sound of hammers hitting wooden boards and nails. The wooden boards were gradually put together into the shape of a small boat. The sun gradually rose from the east, and the temperature was getting higher and higher. Chen Yu had not yet completed the construction of the whole boat, and it was already noon. Chen Yu, come and eat. Let's order after eating. Recharge your energy. Ling Qing, who was originally doing housework and feeding livestock in the shelter, also came to the beach and brought Chen Yu a hearty lunch. Because Chen Yu's labor intensity was very high these days, the 997 dishes Ling Qing made were either big fish or big meat. She didn't want Chen Yu to lose weight. After all, copying here was her only support, and maybe it would be the same after she returned. Thank you, Miss Ling Qing, for lunch. Miss Ling Qing, you've worked hard. Chen Yu kissed the back of Ling Qing's hand gently, pretending to be a gentleman. You're annoying, Chen Yu. You just tease me. Ling Qing pouted and shook off his hand. In public, with thousands of netizens watching, Chen Yu's affectionate words made Ling Qing feel warm. Okay. Take a rest after dinner. It's still early. Don't tire yourself out. Ling Qing cleaned up the dishes and told Chen Yu. But Chen Yu was not willing to listen to her. Now was the hottest time of the sun. If the boards were not nailed in time, many of them would be deformed after being exposed to the sun, and then they would be unusable. Under the scorching sun, after an afternoon of repairs, a brand new boat appeared under Chen Yu's hands. Looking at the boat he had worked hard on for 2 days, Chen Yu's eyes were full of joy. After all, this was his first means of transportation, and it was still very memorable. Next, rubber needed to be poured into the gaps in the boat's planks to prevent the boat from leaking. However, to be on the safe side, Chen Yu decided to coat the entire boat with rubber. Then a layer of paint was applied on the surface of the hull, which could effectively prevent erosion by seawater. However, before that, the boat had to fully absorb water to maximize the tension of the planks and prevent cracks from forming after the planks dried. Chen Yu tied the small boat to a reef with a rope, sank the boat to the bottom of the sea, letting it fully absorb water. This process lasted for a whole night. The next morning, Chen Yu had already fished out the soaked boat, rubber and paint as shown in the picture. After 2 hours of exposure to the sun, the paint and rubber have completely dried, tightly attached to the hull. Wow, finally done. God will pay off. Ling Qing looked at the boat, which was purple-red in color after being painted, and looked eager to try. Huh? Chen Yu, why did you put a piece of wood in the boat? Ling Qing climbed into the boat, looking at the wood standing tall on the boat, was a little puzzled. Haha, silly, that's the mast I'm going to use as a sail. Only with the help of wind power can the boat go faster. After Chen Yu's explanation, Ling Qing finally understood the purpose of this mast. Ling Qing's home is inland, let alone the sea. Even the wider rivers are rare. After growing up and moving to the city, what I saw were giant ships powered by modern technology. Sailboats like this that are out of touch with the times are rare. Let's go. Let's go. Forget about the mast. Let's go and try it out. Ling Qing couldn't resist the temptation and was ready to push the boat into the sea. However, no matter how hard she pushed, the boat didn't move at all. Haha, my Miss Ling Qing, this little wooden boat is still made of wood, plus it was soaked in seawater last night. It weighs about 100 pounds. Do you think you can push it? Looking at Ling Qing pushing the boat with a red face, but not pushing it, Chen Yu laughed. Hateful Mr. Chen Yu, I now order you to drive the boat for me. Ling Qing was furious, puffed up her face, put her hands on her hips, and said angrily, Yes, Miss Ling Qing. Chen Yu saluted, pretending to be a sailor on the boat, and his solemn look amused Ling Qing. Take the oars and follow me. Chen Yu put the anchor on the boat, and asked Ling Qing to take the oars and follow him. He pushed the boat towards the sea slave. Come on, get on board. Chen Yu steadied the boat to one side, and waited for Ling Qing to come up before pushing the boat into the depths. After the boat floated, Chen Yu leaped onto the boat. The boat swayed, and Ling Qing was so scared that she quickly grabbed the side of the boat. Ah! Hate it. You scared me to death. I almost fell into the sea. Ling Qing was frightened and screamed. Let's go. Let's go see the sea. See. Here I come. Chen Yu and Ling Qing were in a very good mood. looking at the sponge reflecting the ripples in the sun. They really wanted to sing a song. The distant and blue sea reflected the cloudless blue sky. Chapter 819 extremely blurred. Looking far away, the boundary between the sea and the sky seems extremely blurred, and it is hard to see clearly. If there were no islands as a reference, it would be hard to tell where the sea is and where the sky is. Oh! We paddle our oars, and the boat pushes away the waves. Looking at this scene, Ling Qing couldn't help but sing loudly. This innocent and pure cute look reminds many people of their own youth. My goddess, you are as pure and lovely as ever. Alas, such a beautiful scenery, such a good man, what a perfect match. Wife, wait for me to work hard for a few more years, and take you to see the sea. Come on upstairs, I hope you can taste the sea soon. Ding, old driver stuck. I remembered running under the sunset that day, that was my lost youth. Old dog, you are in heat again. Such a beautiful scenery, if nothing happens, it will be a shame to the scenery. The camera followed the picturesque scenes, and sent them back to the live broadcast room, which once again caused a painful wail from the wolf friends. Chunyu, why don't you sing? Come on. You should know this song. Ling Qing happily pulled Chunyu's arm and swung it, asking Chunyu to sing with her. I do know this song. And I like it very much. But I won't sing it. You sing it. Just sing it. Chunyu awkwardly pulled Ling Qing's hand away and rejected her invitation. To be honest, although Chunyu used to be otaku, his singing voice was still good. However, after traveling to this world, he found that his singing talent had magically disappeared. Sure enough, this world is balanced. There are gains and losses, Chunyu sighed secretly. After he crossed over, he sang it at home. As a result, the voice was so rough that it was comparable to slaughtering a pig. It even almost caused the neighbors to come to the door with kitchen knives, thinking that Chunyu was raped. Since then, the singing-loving Chunyu disappeared, and there was one more fat otaku who couldn't sing in this world. Oh my goddess, singing voice is so tempting, it makes me feel soft. Why doesn't Chunyu sing? Sing quickly, my little brother Momo. Sing, if you are a man. Sing! I am looking forward to Chunyu singing. He is so handsome, he must be good at singing. That's not necessarily true. According to scientific research, the more outstanding a person is in other aspects, there must be some things he is not good at. The upstairs is jealous, drag him out and castrate him. Sing, sing, sing! Chunyu's refusal made Ling Qing very sad. For 2 or 3 months, she had never heard Chunyu sing. Sing. Sing? I want to hear you sing, anyway. No one can hear it except me, so just sing for me. In order to make Chunyu sing, Ling Qing used all her tricks, including acting like a spoiled child and rolling around. Chunyu couldn't stand her soft and gentle pleading, and finally nodded and agreed. I'll sing. Don't regret it. I won't care if you ruin the scenery. Chunyu repeatedly reminded her. But Ling Qing was determined to listen to him sing, and didn't care about it at all. The live broadcast room heard that Chunyu was finally going to sing, and there was also anticipation. After all, Chunyu has always given them the impression of being omnipotent. An omnipotent man, who can do everything, and nothing can be difficult for him. Now that they heard that Chunyu was going to sing, everyone subconsciously held their breath. Even the number of people in the live broadcast room suddenly increased dramatically. Director Wang, good news, Chunyu is going to sing. Assistant Xiaozheng rushed in from outside. Sing, just sing, what good news is this? Director Wang took a sip of tea, and the twilight focused on the calligraphy and painting in front of him. Because he was going to sing, the number of people in the live broadcast room once again reached more than 120 million. The amount of rewards also reached a peak. Xiaozheng said excitedly. What? Singing a song can reach this level? Are these people brain dead? Sure enough. The thing that this world lacks the most is brain dead fans. Director Wang said, took the tablet next to him, opened the live broadcast room of Group 2. He was also looking forward to Chunyu's song. Then I'll sing. You stand a little in the middle of the boat. Chunyu glanced at Ling Qing, pulled her a little to the middle, because he was worried that if he opened his mouth, Ling Qing would be scared and fall into the water. Then I'll sing a song to sea. Be careful. Ahem. Chunyu calmed down, recalled the lyrics, and started to sing, walking aimlessly on the beach watching the tides coming and going, trying in vain to remember every wave. Ling Qing was startled at the first moment, and sat down on the deck. He stared at Chunyu in amazement. Oh my god, I'm so scared. Are you sure this is the real Chunyu? Oh my ears, no no. Who raped my ears, Mom? Please save me. I said he was not good at least one aspect. The live broadcast room exploded in an instant. No one believed that the omnipotent Chinyu could actually. Singing was so magical, everyone was drunk. I want to say I love you, but it's blown away by the wind. Looking back suddenly. You are there. Chinyu has a habit. That is, once he does something, he will be extremely devoted. Therefore, after singing the first sentence, he did not stop. It may be a little strange at the beginning, but after singing 2 sentences, he found the feeling and quickly integrated into it. If the sea can call back the love I once had, let me wait for my whole life. However, what surprised everyone even more was that after Chinyu sang the first 2 sentences, starting from the 3rd sentence, there was a magical turn. As if he had adapted to it or something. The originally harsh noise suddenly turned into pleasant music. The pleasant music flowed out of Chinyu's mouth and directly intoxicated a large number of people. The people in the live broadcast room even forgot to post comments and listened to Chinyu singing blankly, as if they were in the scene, and their hearts were calm. I wanted to say I love you, but it was blown away by the wind. I suddenly turned around and there you are. If the sea can bring back the love I once had, let me wait for my whole life, let it drift away with the wind. If you no longer miss the affectionate past, let it drift away with the wind. If the sea can take away my sorrow just like taking away every river, all the injuries I have suffered, all the tears I have shed, my love, please take it all away. The song ended. Ling Qing, like the audience in the live broadcast room, had not yet come to his senses. Because the first sentence Chinyu said really scared the people in the live broadcast room. It was really like a scream of being raped. But what followed was like the sound of nature, touching everyone who was listening. At that moment, it seemed that even the fish swimming in the sea and the birds in the sky stopped swimming and flying, and were all tilting their heads to listen to Chinyu's music. Boom! Chapter 8, 22 Many Things to See. Sister by Cebu de Chi. Reward Supercar * 20 Little Witch Who Loves to Laugh. Reward Rocket * 30 Brother Dolly's Brother. Reward Supercar * 30. There were bursts of noises coming from the live broadcast room, the overwhelming barrage of comments, and the rewards were too much to see. Director Wang. Director Wang, great news. Xiao Zheng rolled and crawled into Director Wang's office, not afraid of Director Wang's blame. I know, this Chinyu is really a genius. Director Wang waved his hand to let Xiao Zheng go out. Looking up at the horizon, his eyes were deep. According to complete statistics, the peak number of people in this live broadcast room exceeded 180 million. This time, the rewards and click-through rate even exceeded the time when he killed jackals and bears alone. The rewards reached a terrifying level. No wonder those stars earned so much. This is indeed a violent industry. Wow. Chinyu, are you a singing god? Wow. Ling Qing came back to his senses from the shock, looking at Chinyu with an admiration he had never had before. Suddenly, Ling Qing jumped up and hugged Chinyu tightly, refusing to let go. Ling Qing's eyes were full of tears. It was not known whether she was moved or what. But Chinyu was confused. It was just a song. Was it necessary to be like this? Was it really because my singing was too bad that scared the little girl to tears? Chinyu felt a little ashamed. After all, his singing scared her. But who could he blame? He said he would not sing. But he was forced to sing. Now he realized that he deserved it. Chinyu in front of him did not realize that his singing was not only good, but also moved everyone. Maybe it was because he had the second-level animal language skill. The creatures around him seemed to understand his singing. Chinyu, I will never leave you, forever and ever. Ling Qing sobbed, and spoke intermittently. Okay. Chinyu patted Ling Qing's back gently, and comforted her in a gentle voice. Chinyu thought about it, maybe it was because of his lyrics. The lyrics of this song were a bit gloomy, and he sang with emotion. Even if it was unpleasant to hear, Ling Qing might have understood the meaning behind it. Okay. Stop crying. If you cry like a big cat, you won't be pretty. Be good. Chinyu comforted her while gently wiping away the tears on Ling Qing's face. This is a woman worth cherishing. Please understand his feelings from the song. Such a beauty. Isn't she a confidant? Hold on tight. Our boat is going to speed up. After comforting Ling Qing, Chinyu increased the speed of rowing, and the boat gradually moved away from the coast. Chinyu did not plan to go out to look for the essence of Tianqin meteorite today. After swimming around the sea, it was almost afternoon. He planned to look around and bring back some seafood from the shallow beach. When the boat sailed to a coral reef, Yu suddenly saw a big octopus under the water. The octopus seemed to be hunting a lobster. The two fought fiercely, chasing each other. Yu gave Ling Qing instructions. He gently put down the anchor, drew the saber from his waist, and jumped into the sea. Yu's speed in the water was also very fast. In 2 breaths, he had already swam to the position of the octopus and the lobster. In an instant, Yu's left hand tightly grasped the octopus's head, and the saber in his right hand quickly stabbed into the octopus's mouth, stirring it twice, and the octopus died instantly. Before the big lobster could come to its senses, it was nailed to the bottom of the sea by the saber in Yu's hand. The two seafoods did not fully think that in their quarrel, Yu would be the one who benefited in the end. Splash! Puff! Yu emerged from the water, with a big lobster on the saber in his right hand, and an octopus tightly grasped in his left hand. Although the octopus was dead, its developed reaction nerves were still there, and its 8 tentacles were tightly wrapped around Yu's arms. Ah! Yu, what happened to you? Seeing the whole octopus coiled around Yu's upper body, as if he was caught by the octopus, Ling Qing was frightened and immediately became nervous. I'm fine. Don't worry. This octopus is dead, and it's only its developed reaction nerves that are still moving. As he said that, Yu threw the lobster into the boat and climbed into the boat with one hand. He took off the octopus wrapped around his arm and threw it aside. Wow, this octopus is so big, it's still moving even after it's dead, so amazing. After seeing that Yu was really fine, Ling Qing began to study the octopus that was constantly twisting on the deck. Don't underestimate this octopus. This kind of thing is very cunning in the sea, and many marine creatures are extremely afraid of octopuses. Octopuses are mollusks, which are flexible in the sea and come and go like the wind. And they are cunning by nature, and the suction cups of the 8 tentacles are powerful, so many marine creatures have little chance to escape when facing octopuses. However, octopus is also a species that is extremely protective of its offspring. Especially, the mother octopus cares about her offspring to the extreme. Many mother octopuses die of overwork due to the care and hard work for their offspring. Therefore, octopus is also a species that many people like. But what more people like is that octopus meat is very elastic and fragrant. Whether it is grilled or cooked in soup, it is a must. Let's go around again and catch something to make dinner. Afterwards, Yu and Ling Qing rowed around the shallow sea of the coastline for a long time. Yu went into the sea 6 or 7 times and had a good harvest. Among them, there were more than 10 octopuses, big and small. Yu guessed that there should be an octopus nest nearby. Otherwise, there would be no reason for so many octopuses. Moreover, octopus meat is tender, rich in protein, minerals and other nutrients, and also contains important health factors such as anti-fatigue, anti-aging, and can prolong human life. Not long after, Yu took Ling Qing back to the shelter. Because Ling Qing had never cooked octopus, he didn't know how to deal with it. So today's dinner was handed over to Yu. It has been a long time since he tasted Yu's cooking skills. Ling Qing was really greedy when he thought about it. Yu was in charge of making dinner and processing seafood. Ling Qing was there to help. When Ling Qing finished processing the livestock and rations in the ranch, Ningbo's seafood feast was freshly prepared. Looking at the fragrant seafood soup, Ling Qing's mouth was drooling. It smells so good. It's my first time eating octopus. Reaching out to take the chopsticks handed over by Yu, Ling Qing picked up a small octopus and put it in the bowl. Well, eat more. Octopus is a health product for beauty, blood, milk, and lowering blood pressure. The octopus health products on the market are very valuable. Yu supplemented Ling Qing's knowledge while eating. The meal passed by while they ate and talked. The influence of Yu's singing incident was so great on the internet. As time went by, more and more videos of Yu singing were spread on the internet. Yu was even called the god of song, and was unanimously recognized by the majority of netizens. The next day, Yu got up early. Last night, he had discussed with Ling Qing that they would go out to sea together to look for meteorites. That night, Yu saw the blue meteorite fragments fall into the sea with his own eyes, and that sea area was not far from their shelter. After settling the livestock, the two prepared enough fresh water and various foods, as well as some protective items. Being on the ship is not like being on land. Once there is a lack of fresh water supply, it will be a fatal blow. Chapter 821 Dry Food. Using the plastic bucket that Yu picked up, he filled a large bucket of boiled water. Ling Qing's mini backpack was filled with a bag of dry food, including various roasted meats, and dried food that could be eaten at any time. This was also to be on the safe side. If something unexpected happened at sea, the two of them could still rely on these foods to survive. After arriving at the beach, Qinyu pushed the boat out from the hiding place. After fixing the food, fresh water, and some equipment on the deck, they were ready to go out to sea. Although the sea area within sight is not far away, it is flat and vast, and it takes some effort to reach there. Qinyu and Ling Qing held up the sail and rowed towards the destination with the help of the wind. As the saying goes, a horse will die if it is seen too far. And this sentence is absolutely true. Qinyu and Ling Qing rowed for more than half an hour, and they have not reached the destination. From this, it can be concluded that Qinyu's vision is so abnormal that he can see such a far object clearly. In fact, Qinyu only remembered the approximate direction, and then judged the approximate distance based on the light and sound emitted by the meteorite falling on the sea. The speed of sound in the air is much lower than the speed of light. So from the moment they saw the meteorite fall to the sea, to the moment they heard the sound of the meteorite falling, Qinyu judged that they had not yet reached that sea area. Advancing with the help of wind power, Qinyu and his team saved most of their volume, which also saved a lot of unnecessary energy loss. After more than half an hour, Qinyu felt that he was close to his destination. Okay, let's search around here and see if we can find anything. In fact, Qinyu just wanted to try his luck with the detection function of the system. If he were to search independently, it would be almost impossible. This place was already deep sea, and the deep sea water reflected the blue of the sky, which seemed extremely deep and could not be seen at a glance. Qinyu slowly rowed the boat, drifting around aimlessly. The specific location was in this area, but he did not know where it landed. Moreover, the weight of a general meteorite was much greater than that of an ordinary stone, so it was difficult for him to find anything on the sea. Originally, he planned to rely on his own eyesight to search for meteorites through the seawater, but the depth of the sea here was far beyond his imagination. Even with his abnormal eyesight, he could not see the scenery under the sea. However, Qinyu was a man who paid attention to planning. Before setting off, he had made two preparations. One of them was to use his naked eyes to find meteorites, but this method now seemed to have run aground. Then he could only use the backup plan. Qinyu took out a long pipe-like object from the quilt, and a closer look revealed that it was the intestines of some animal. That's right, these are the intestines of wild boars, bears, and jackals. Because there was a shortage of supplies on the island, Qinyu did not eat these things. Instead, he used them as tools and made them into sections of water pipes, making it convenient to use water. After Qinyu took out the water pipes, he began to pump air into them. 7 or 8 sections of intestinal water pipes were tied around his waist like a lifebuoy. Seeing Qinyu's actions, Ling Qing also knew what he was going to do. These intestines were filled with air, which could be used by Qinyu to breathe underwater. Qinyu's physique is extremely strong, and it is not a problem for him to swim in the sea for 7 or 8 minutes. However, the seawater here is too deep, and the pressure is definitely not small. Therefore, these spare air bags will greatly help Qinyu when necessary. After tying the air bags, Qinyu tied a thin hemp rope to the mast of the boat, and tied the other end of the rope to his waist. The purpose of doing this is, first, to prevent himself from losing the direction of the boat in the sea. Second, when he encounters an emergency, Ling Qing, who is waiting on the boat, can pull it out from the bottom of the water. Then Qinyu picked up the 2 bamboo poles that were originally on the boat, which had been sharpened at both ends, and put them on his back. He pinned the small military knife on his trouser leg. He tightened the large amount of equipment tied to his body. He took a deep breath, glanced at Ling Qing, who was standing on the deck with a worried look, and turned around and jumped into the sea. The seawater was slightly cool, with a wave of heaviness. As Qinyu dived down, the pressure around him increased. In just over a minute, Qinyu easily dived to a position of more than 30 meters. You know, ordinary people who have not received professional training, their diving depth will not exceed 10 meters. Even if they bring professional equipment, professional divers who have received professional training, the maximum limit is only 45 meters. At this moment, Qinyu easily reached a position of more than 40 meters, and his body did not feel any abnormality. You and I do not have any professional diving equipment. Even diving goggles and earplugs are not used. According to him, his body can completely resist the erosion of seawater. Those extra equipments would only affect his ability to perform. Chinyu opened his eyes wide and looked at the bottom of the sea. He saw a dark blue seabed, with a fish or shrimp swimming by occasionally, and a school of fish. As the depth of the dive continued to increase, Chinyu had gradually reached a position of more than 100 meters. At this time, he felt a little pressure from the seawater. However, he did not take this level of pressure seriously. He looked up at the sky and turned around to continue diving. When he reached about 150 meters, for ordinary people, there was little light here. Most divers are equipped with professional lighting. But because the conditions do not allow, Chinyu could only rely on his own eyes. The dark sea water flashed with faint light. Chinyu knew that it was the light refracted by the surface sea water, and this little light was already very rare. But in Chinyu's eyes, this little light was enough for him to see the entire seabed clearly. 200 meters, he had completely dived to the bottom of the sea. Chinyu stepped deep and shallow in the mud and sand of the sea, carefully looking for even a stone. Hairtails and some deep-sea fish swam past Chinyu with a curious look, which gave Chinyu a good idea. Animal language level 2. In this sea, there must be many creatures that saw the meteorite fall that day. Instead of searching aimlessly, it is better to mobilize these seafood to help himself. Well, Gulu. Kukawa. Looking at the school of fish swimming in front of him, Chinyu just opened his mouth to speak, and the strong pressure immediately poured seawater into his mouth. He was so scared that he quickly covered his mouth, took an air bag from his waist, and took a deep breath. Whenever he wanted to open his mouth to speak, the seawater would mercilessly pour into his mouth. The words Yunyun had prepared turned into a series of gurgling, meaningless and chaotic sounds. After taking a deep breath of oxygen, he felt a little relieved. This would not work. He had to think of a way. Looking at the hairtail swimming quickly in front of him, Chinyu made a lightning-fast move and tightly grasped the back of the neck of a hairtail. No matter how he struggled, Chinyu's hand always held it tightly like an iron hoop. After catching this hairtail, Chinyu stopped looking for others. He pushed his feet hard on the seabed and swam quickly to the surface of the sea. After a while, Umo climbed back to the boat along the rope again. Chapter 822 God will not let down those who work hard. Aw, Chinyu, you found it? Hey, what is this? Seeing Chinyu finally arrive on the boat, Ling Qing hurried over to ask. Seeing the hairtail fish struggling constantly, felt extremely curious. Well, we have to find another way. Otherwise, my efficiency will be too low on the seabed alone, Uemo said, taking the hairtail fish out of the water. This fish is our spy, Chinyu explained to Ling Qing. But it seems to be dying. Ling Qing saw that the hairtail fish went from being lively and energetic at the beginning to dying and motionless in a short while. No, it was still alive and kicking just now. Chinyu put the hairtail fish in front of his eyes and found that it was really dying. At this time, he remembered that the hairtail fish is a deep-sea fish, living in the seabed with extremely high pressure. Once it leaves the seabed, as the pressure decreases, the organs in their bodies will swell and break due to the lack of pressure, and they will die soon. He originally wanted to use this hairtail fish to help him search for meteorites in the deep sea, but now it seems like a futile effort. But it doesn't matter. Since it's dead, let's use it as food reserve. Such a large sea area will never change because of the lack of a fish. Since the hairtail fish doesn't work, let's find other fish. Chinyu thought about it, refilled the air bag, and dived back to the bottom of the sea again. This time Chinyu did not dive into the deep sea. At a depth of 20 to 30 meters, Chinyu caught a strange-looking fish. The strange fish swam very slowly, and was not afraid of Chinyu at all. Chinyu reached out and picked it up, and sent it back to the sea. Hey! Strange fish. Did you see the meteor falling from the sky a few days ago? On the sea. Chinyu adjusted his skills and asked the strange fish. Pulu. Pulu. You can't escape. Answer my questions honestly, and I will let you go. Then you can wait to become dinner. The fish obviously didn't expect Chinyu to talk to it. After struggling and begging for mercy, it slowly calmed down. On the one hand, it was because of Chinyu's language threat, and on the other hand, it was curious about Chinyu's ability to talk to it. According to this strange fish, many fish knew about the meteorite hitting the sea surface that night. After all, such a spectacle that only happens once in a few hundred years rarely happens. So for these guys in the sea, it was indeed a disaster, and therefore the impression was extremely deep. However, Chinyu only asked about this one thing. And as for where the meteorite fell, This strange guy knew nothing. Maybe it has limited brain cells. This guy only remembers that such an incident happened. And it happened in the nearby sea area. As for where exactly it happened, it can't say. Because this guy even forgot where he came from. Seeing that it was difficult to ask anything from it, Chen Yu directly released it. After all, its answer was a bit of credit. And Chen Yu had no intention of eating it. Moreover, this guy looked weird. And it was not known whether it could be eaten. Throwing the strange fish far away, Chen Yu planned to dive into the seabed again. Find a few more fish and ask them. Maybe you can find a clue. Turning around and diving into the seabed, Chen Yu planned to look for a school of fish this time. Just after diving a few dozen meters, the strange fish that Chen Yu had thrown away actually came back again, and followed him, shaking its head and tail. Take me to find the school of fish. Gulu. The fish came at the right time, and Chen Yu just needed a guide. Without caring about much, he opened his mouth and spoke directly in the water. Every time he uttered a word, a string of bubbles came out. The fish was stupid, and after listening to Chen Yu's words, it took Yumu and swam quickly to the distance, passing a dense coral reef. It was covered with colorful plants. Gorgeous and colorful. Clownfish swam among the seaweed and coral reefs. Predators hid in the cracks of the rocks, prepared to take a chance and have a feast. After seeing Chen Yu swimming over, many fishes immediately entered the coral reefs and disappeared. These small fish and shrimps, their IQs are not very high at all. After all, sometimes, the size of certain species determines their intelligence. For example, whales in the sea and elephants on land. Ignoring these little guys, Chen Yu carefully searched in the corals, because in places like this, there would be octopuses. You should know that although the octopus has a small head, it is famous for its high IQ. When the Chinese national football team plays football, they habitually use octopuses to predict the winning team, and the accuracy is very high. Some people also use octopuses to do experiments, putting crabs in a bottle with a small mouth and putting it in a fish tank. After putting the octopus in the fish tank, it cleverly got into the bottle, ate the crab, and then got out. There are many other methods, such as octopus escape and other experiments. Humans have proved with wisdom that the IQ of octopuses is indeed much higher than that of other fish. Sure enough, God will not let down those who work hard. After Chen Yu took 2 breaths, he finally found a giant octopus under a coral reef. After the strange fish following Chen Yu saw the octopus, it was like seeing its natural enemy and fled in the blink of an eye. The speed was many times faster than when Chen Yu caught it just now. This made Chen Yu speechless. Am I not as scary as an octopus? In fact, Chen Yu didn't know. Compared with humans, this deep-sea giant octopus is indeed more frightening to other fish. Octopuses are not only cunning and treacherous, but also have terrifying hunting abilities. The powerful color-changing ability of octopuses can help them quickly blend into the environment. The soft body can easily get into tiny gaps and hide in the dark waiting for prey to pass by. The power of the suckers is even more terrifying. The suckers of a general octopus have a power of almost 100 grams. Each tentacle has 300 suckers, and there are 8 tentacles in total. The tentacles can carry objects that are 510 times their own weight. Once the prey is caught by the octopus, there is almost no chance of escape. The octopus's ability to escape is beyond imagination. The ink sprayed from its mouth can block the enemy's sight. Instantly, high-intensity water pressure is squeezed out from its abdomen to help it quickly escape from the enemy. The ink in its stomach can be refilled every half an hour, and it is almost not afraid of any enemy. This is a big octopus. Chen Yu knew this when he saw it. But when he saw it all, the size of the octopus was far beyond Chen Yu's expectations. From the crack where the octopus was lying, the octopus, including its tentacles, was almost 3 meters long. While the octopus was focusing on its prey and had not yet discovered itself, Chen Yu made a lightning-fast move and firmly grabbed the octopus's head. The octopus, which was quietly waiting for its prey, was suddenly attacked. In panic, its 8 tentacles suddenly retracted and tightly trapped Chen Yu's arms. 8 tentacles over 3 meters long instantly grasped Chen Yu's body. The huge mouthparts were exposed in front of him. Because Chen Yu grabbed the top of its head, this guy couldn't turn around to bite him. Chapter 823 Natural Vigilance. After wrapping around Chen Yu's body, the octopus thought that Chen Yu would be pulled into its mouth like other prey. But it obviously underestimated Chen Yu's strength. Not only did it fail to pull Chen Yu to its side, the 8 tightly wrapped tentacles were pulled off from Chen Yu's body one by one. Chinyu held the 8 tentacles of the octopus tightly in his hands, and the strong grip hurt the octopus. At the bottom of the sea, it was neither convenient to talk nor to operate. Therefore, with the octopus, Chinyu rose out of the sea again. Ling Qing, who had been staying on the boat, saw Chinyu surface again. Seeing the giant octopus he caught, he was so surprised that he didn't know what to say. Fuck. Is this guy still human? Shock. Chinyu actually used the 8 hands of an octopus to do this. Stop upstairs. The evidence is solid. Just handcuff him and take him away. This kind of giant octopus, except for large fishing boats, no one has ever been able to catch it. Dishonest? Ah. My little brother Chinyu. I want to give birth to a baby for you. Boys can give birth to babies? Stop daydreaming. Eat it raw. Braise it. Cook it in soup. Grill it. How do you think Chinyu will eat this octopus? Give him a bag of spicy strips. I bet he doesn't dare to eat it raw. Definitely grill it. I'll give him half a cigarette. The crowd in the live broadcast room once again made a wave of today. Bustling. Chinyu once again activated his level 2 animal language ability, preparing to tame the octopus. Tell me, where is your octopus nest? Chinyu asked about the location of the octopus nest from the beginning. After all, if there was only this one octopus, it would definitely not be enough. Only when the octopus nest is found, using the huge number of octopuses in it, can the seabed be covered. Humph, how dare you scold me? I think you won't cry until you see the coffin. Swish. His inquiry did not get the desired result. Chinyu reached out and drew out the saber, and cut off a tentacle. In order to achieve the desired effect of forcing a confession, Chinyu cut the octopus tentacles into thin slices with a few strokes. He reached out to take the oil, salt, sauce and vinegar on the boat, dipped it, and ate it raw. Come! Try it too. Octopus can be eaten raw. It tastes good and is very chewy. Chinyu reached out to pick up a piece of octopus meat, dipped it in the seasoning, and handed it to Ling Qing. Well, I don't want it. It looks disgusting. Ling Qing hurriedly stepped back a few steps and looked at Chinyu with disgust. Of course she knew that octopus can be eaten raw. But as a human being in a civilized society, she really couldn't eat it. Not many people in China eat animals raw. Only foreigners like this kind of thing. Sashimi and the like are not what Ling Qing likes at all. Alas, you are not lucky enough to enjoy it. Such fresh ingredients, which can also beautify your skin, Chinyu said while eating, smacking his mouth. The fierce operation not only scared the viewers in the live broadcast room, but also scared the octopus to struggle quickly. Come on. Come on. The friend who blocked Chinyu upstairs and said he didn't dare to eat raw food. Bring the spicy strips. Oh my god. You actually dare to eat it raw. I admire you. Fuck. Why do I have the urge to drool? This reminds me of the scene in Stephen Chow's The Mermaid, where the octopus sliced itself. Eat. Eat all 8 legs. Renjin Wei. Give me a supercar *5. Come to think of it, your meat is pretty good. I haven't had the chance to eat it before. I'm going to eat more this time. Umo tightly grasped the octopus with only 7 legs left, and smiled at it with a wicked look on his face, regardless of the octopus tentacles in his mouth still waving. Hiss. Wouldn't it be better earlier? You have to suffer before you say it. What a cheap octopus. Under Chinyu's brutal intimidation, even this giant octopus was convinced. Chinyu used one of the octopus tentacles to guide himself, and held the other 6 tightly, because if the octopus escaped, it would be very troublesome to chase it. Out of caution, Yumu decided to let it guide the direction, and find it himself. After wandering for about 200 or 300 meters, Chinyu, under the guidance of the octopus, suddenly found a group of octopuses gathered here. It was unknown how many generations these octopuses had reproduced here. In this sea depression, there was one almost every few meters. However, there was another one that surprised Chinyu even more, because this octopus had a bunch of grapes under its 8 tentacles. And this was the size of the octopus, which was even bigger than the one he caught. The length is almost 5 meters. This octopus should be the largest female octopus in the whole group. And the grapes dragged under its body are actually its eggs. Chinyu swam quietly across the water, and when he reached the top of the female octopus, he suddenly dived, trying to catch the female octopus. But maybe these octopuses had already discovered him. Or maybe, as a mother, they were naturally vigilant. The female octopus sprayed a thick ball of ink, dyeing the seawater black. The water column sprayed out of the abdominal cavity, dragging it far away in an instant. Although Chinyu missed the attack, he did not stop. His feet stepped on the seawater quickly, and his body rushed forward like an arrow. Although the octopus was very fast, Chinyu was obviously not to be underestimated. After chasing in the water for a while, Chinyu grabbed the tentacle of the female octopus. After a chaotic battle, Chinyu and the two octopuses floated to the surface of the sea again. Chinyu used the same method to deal with the female octopus again. But he did not expect that the female octopus was indeed very stubborn. No matter how Chinyu threatened, it remained indifferent. However, Chinyu still discovered one thing. That is, this female octopus was very nervous about the strings of fish eggs below it. After discovering this, Mingimo reached out and picked up an octopus egg, and threw it into his mouth and chewed it. Hiss! Jijiwa. At this time, not only the female octopus screamed, but the other octopus in Chinyu's hand also struggled desperately. This scene made Chinyu seem to understand something. So Chinyu took the fish eggs of the female octopus, and threatened the two octopuses again with a shameless face. After Chinyu's threats and arrangements, the female octopus stayed on the boat obediently. Chinyu found a wooden barrel to put it in, and the remaining octopus went to contact their tribe. He gathered all its relatives, and swept across the seabed in a mighty manner. Soon, after a lot of trouble, it was already noon. Ling Qing was timid, and did not dare to approach the female octopus. Therefore, he sat on the deck at the bow with Chinyu, and simply ate some dry food and dried meat. Chinyu turned around and threw some dried meat to the female octopus in the barrel. After all, he had to use other people's connections to do things. And he also broke one of its legs. It would be unreasonable not to give it food. After lunch, he and Ling Qing tossed around on the boat for a while. Chinyu planned to find some more helpers. After all, the number of octopuses was limited. Not far after going into the sea, it seemed that his luck had exploded. Not long after, he encountered a group of sardines. Chapter 824 Purple Light. The sardine school is huge, with hundreds or even thousands. The sardine school that Chinyu encountered is even larger. It may be composed of several schools of fish, and there are at least tens of thousands of them, big and small. Uemo relied on his flexible hands and sharp eyes, and quickly found two special sardines in the sardine school. The same method, the same technique. After a chase, the two king sardines were firmly grasped in Chinyu's hands. Catch one and release one. After some threats and discussions, one of the sardines led the school of fish to search the sea for meteorites. Seeing that his method was feasible, Chinyu continued to search for a large number of species in the sea, either by discussion or threats, forcing them to submit. So, in the wooden barrel of the boat on the deck, sometimes there was a big shrimp, sometimes there was a sea snake, or a conger eel. After 2 or 3 hours, there were 3 large barrels of seafood on the deck, as many as dozens of them. The onlookers in the live broadcast room thought that Chinyu went to the sea to catch seafood. While they were impressed by his courage, they were also envious of his seafood feast. After an afternoon of tossing and turning on the sea, Chinyu lay quietly on the deck. Ling Qing was beside him doing muscle relaxation and massaging him skillfully. Chinyu lay comfortably on the deck, enjoying Ling Qing's massage and the warmth of the sun, looking very comfortable. The sea is vast, and the sky is beautiful. The audience in the live broadcast room were envious and jealous of such a comfortable scene. Not long after, octopus heads began to emerge from the water. Chinyu knew that this was the first batch of troops he sent out, and they must have come back to report the news. Sure enough, listening to the chattering of the octopuses, Chinyu understood that they had found a place suspected to be a meteorite fall. He quickly went into the sea, just following the octopus group, turning left and right. After a while, he came to a large pit on the seabed. In the pit lay a basin-sized stone, covered with a layer of black enamel. A little sea sand covers it. This is a meteorite, and the glaze on it is obviously formed by the heat generated by friction when passing through the atmosphere. However, now this meteorite crater is full of various inexplicable plants, which look very lush. I don't know how long this meteorite has fallen, but it must not have fallen within the past 100 years. Otherwise, such a large meteorite fell here, and the news channel would definitely record it. The sensation and impact caused must be not small. Fortunately, the place where this meteorite fell is relatively remote, and there are no marine creatures living here. Otherwise this huge crater would have been filled up long ago. Or maybe, there were many species here in the past, but because of the landing of this meteorite, the creatures nearby were scared away, or burned to death. Oma kicked the meteorite with his foot, and unexpectedly found that it was quite heavy. Looking at the material, it should be a metal with a relatively high gold content. And after being soaked in seawater for such a long time, there is no damage or trace at all. I think it should be an extremely extraordinary metal. And after being burned by thousands of degrees of high temperature in the atmosphere, it still did not completely disappear, which shows it's ordinary. I often hear people say that some people use meteorite iron from outer space to make extraordinary weapons. According to the meteorite in front of Chen Yu, it seems to be true. Chen Yu squatted down and lifted the meteorite with both hands. The weight was much heavier than expected. However, Chen Yu did not take this weight seriously. He picked up the meteorite with both hands and swam to the sea surface. When he reached the sea surface, he put the meteorite on the boat and turned back to tell the octopus to continue looking for the essence of the Tianqin meteorite. Ah! Such a big piece. Is this the meteorite? Ling Qing asked curiously when he saw the stone Chen Yu reported. It's a meteorite. But it's not the one I'm looking for, Chen Yu said, while lowering his head to study the stone. The stone was mostly black, but it shone with a dark purple light. If Chen Yu hadn't had amazing eyesight, he wouldn't have been able to find the purple light. It's so dark. So ugly, Ling Qing said, trying to turn the stone over. But she didn't expect that she couldn't push the small stone. Chen Yu. Huh? Disgusting stinky stone. Ling Qing grabbed the edge of the stone with both hands and used all her strength to move the basin-sized stone a little bit. Such a scene not only caused a burst of laughter in the live broadcast room, even Chen Yu couldn't help laughing. Wow! I didn't expect a broken stone to be so heavy. Ling Qing saw that he couldn't push it, so he shook his hands and sat down. Chen Yu smiled, turned the stone around with one hand, and sat up with it under his buttocks, chatting with Ling Qing. Aw, Chen Yu! Look there. There's a snake. Ling Qing, who was chatting with Chen Yu, suddenly pointed at Chen Yu's back and shouted. Chen Yu looked back and saw that it was another army of sea snakes he had sent out. Now only the sea snake came over, and he didn't know if it had discovered anything. He asked as usual. After listening for a long time, Chen Yu didn't get any clues. The adjectives of animals and humans are too different. This is because they live in different environments, and the evolution of their eyes has caused a gap. After listening for a while, Chen Yu decided to go and see it himself. This is going to happen. Chen Yu's heart couldn't help but beat, because what caught his eyes at this moment was a shipwreck that looked extremely old. Black and white sea snakes shuttled back and forth in the cracks of the shipwreck. After all, Umo had never studied archaeology, and he didn't know when the ship sank. But in terms of value, the broken ship was certainly not as valuable as the things inside. Chen Yu quickly swam towards the shipwreck, and after searching for a long time, he found a broken hole, and jumped into the cabin. The inside of the cabin was even more broken than the outside, and some of the wood of the hull had been severely rotten, and it broke into pieces when touched. Chen Yu searched in the cabin, although the visibility was very low, but it did not hinder Chen Yu from finding treasures at all. After entering the cabin, there were rotten wooden boxes lying on the deck. There were quite a few boxes, but they were used to store food. This whole floor of wooden boxes had long been rotten, and sea snakes shuttled through them, and destroyed them to the point where only their prototypes were left. Umo found the entrance to the next floor, and swam slowly into it. 4, 5, 3. There were some cold weapons on the second floor. With the passage of time and the erosion of seawater, these iron weapons had been corroded to the point where only their prototypes were left. Even if there were some that were relatively intact, after Suzuki gently grabbed them, they were like rotten wood, and they broke into pieces all over the floor. There was nothing to explore on this floor. Generally, the real good things are placed on the bottom floor. Chapter 825, Nervous Emotions. The third floor is also the last floor. After finding the entrance and entering, Umo first saw a bronze tripod that was nearly 1 meter high. The bronze tripod stood on 3 legs, and was engraved with tau-tie patterns all over its body. It looked no different from an ordinary tripod. However, the sharp-eyed Chen Yu still found the difference. The inside of this bronze tripod was not smooth. The inside of the top was the same as the outside, and was engraved with complex and mysterious words. It was unknown which era it was from. Chen Yu gently touched the edge of the bronze tripod with his hand, and immediately felt the heaviness and thickness of the bronze nails. Ding! Installable system components detected. Do you want to install? Just as Chen Yu's hand touched the bronze tripod, a mechanical system prompt sound came from his mind. System components? What kind of system is this? There are components? Chen Yu was curious. This system prompt sound was heard after he touched the bronze tripod. Therefore, Chen Yu could conclude that the so-called system components referred to the bronze tripod. He wanted to see how the so-called system components were installed. Install, Chen Yu muttered in his mind. As soon as Chen Yu finished speaking, the bronze tripod in front of him turned into a dark green light and disappeared into Chen Yu's forehead in the blink of an eye. Oh my god! Is this how the system components are installed? What kind of installation is this? It's too perfunctory. The bronze tripod disappeared unexpectedly, which scared Chen Yu. He quickly took out the air bag from his waist, took a deep breath of oxygen, and relieved his nervousness. Ding! The assembly and installation are complete. Open new function, storage bag 1. Storage bag? What the hell is this? Chen Yu secretly complained. The bronze top disappeared in the blink of an eye, and the system had an inexplicable function. Chen Yu closed his eyes and concentrated, calling up the system interface. As expected, he saw a new function below his attribute bar. Name, Chen Yu strength, 40 speed, 30 healing, 20 cold and heat resistance, 20 physical fitness, 25 physical strength, 25 remaining achievement points, 7 ability 1, animal language 2, ability 2, healing 1, ability 3, crisis sense 1, special ability, storage bag 1. Chen Yu lightly clicked on the new ability, and a piece of information broke into his mind. Storage, as the name implies, means to store things. This newly enabled function, the only function is to store things. However, it has a feature that everyone dreams of. That is, it can be taken out after being stored in the system. Isn't this the legendary summer mustard? Thinking of this, Chen Yu suddenly became excited. This is a carry-on bag that can store things. In this way, I don't have to carry so many things with me in the future, and I can directly put them into the system storage bag. Moreover, many things that cannot appear on the market are directly hidden in it, and there is no need to worry about being discovered. Fortunately, this thing fell into Chen Yu's hands. If it was obtained by some lawless people, the consequences would be unimaginable. You should know that this ability is an excellent magic weapon for concealing the truth and transporting drugs and other prohibited items. Collect. Release. Collect. Release. Chen Yu took out the saber he carried with him, and played it over and over again with great interest. Sure enough, this system is just as he said, and it is definitely not comparable to other Dogecoin systems. Secretly excited, Chen Yu looked around. The third floor of the boat was not big to begin with, and after he put away the bronze tripod, it seemed empty. In the corners on all four sides, there was only a pile of inexplicable mud and sand. However, in this pile of mud and sand, a corner of crystal white appeared, which was extremely dazzling in this dark corner. Obviously, there were also some things hidden in this mud and sand, and it looked absolutely extraordinary. Chen Yu took another breath of oxygen, and moved the water flow to gently lead away the mud and sand on the surface. As the mud and sand gradually slid to the surroundings, a pile of porcelain with patterns appeared in front of Chen Yu. These patterns looked extremely charming, carrying the warmth of history, and rushed towards Chen Yu. Chen Yu counted them carefully. Plates, bowls, pots, cups, bottles, all kinds of them. A total of more than 200 pieces. All antiques. I just don't know if the antique industry in this parallel world is developed. Although these things are not heavy, they are a large pile of pieces, and it is extremely inconvenient to carry them. Chen Yu placed his hands on the stacked porcelains, and silently said in his heart, "Collect." In an instant, the porcelains on the ground disappeared without a trace, leaving only a pile of mud and sand. Returning to the upper two floors again, Chen Yu searched carefully, and found a lot of gold bars and silver nuggets in some hidden places. There was not much gold and silver, so Chen Yu put them directly in his pockets and floated to the surface of the sea. Splash! The moment Chen Yu came out of the water, he threw the gold and silver he picked up on the deck. After being corroded by the seawater, the gold and silver had long been unrecognizable. Each piece looked tattered, like a nugget of gold in the desert. Does this thing look like a meteorite? Why do you always pick up scrap copper and iron? Ling Qing looked at the gold and silver that Chen Yu still left on the deck, with no curiosity in her eyes. You don't know what's good. This pile of scrap iron I threw on the ground is worth at least hundreds of thousands. Chen Yu explained to Ling Qing, while replenishing the air in the airbag. Take a closer look. Is this really an ordinary piece of iron? Do you know how much gold and silver are worth now? All mine, all mine, Chinyu. Don't rob others. Hearing Chinyu explain that the scrap iron on the ground was actually gold and silver, Ling Qing instantly put aside her prejudice and rushed to the pile of scrap iron. After a long time, it was almost evening, and it was getting dark. Chinyu decided that if he couldn't find it after waiting for a while, he would go back to the shelter. Wow! 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 Suddenly, there was a sound of diving behind him. Chinyu looked back and saw that the sardines had returned. It looked like the entire group of sardines should have arrived here. I don't know if they found it. The sardines kept jumping out of the water, and they seemed very anxious. Some of the little guys even jumped directly onto Chinyu's boat. Be quiet. Speak one by one. A group of sardines chirped, vying to tell Chinyu what they saw and heard. But thousands of them spoke at the same time, and the originally orderly language instantly turned into an annoying noise. Chinyu couldn't hear anything. After Chinyu roared, the sardines finally quieted down, but they still seemed to be circling restlessly, avoiding something. Puff, puff, swish. A large sardine kept jumping, making strange noises. To others, this was hard to understand, but Chinyu heard it clearly. The sardine was talking to him. What? Found it? You found a meteorite? Great. Hearing that the sardines had found a meteorite, Chinyu almost jumped up with joy. But after hearing that the meteorite was in the hands of other fish, Chinyu became a little anxious. According to the sardine, it seemed that they had seen the meteorite in other fish. Chapter 826, A Meritorious Official. However, the fish was being attacked by other fish, and even they themselves were being attacked by sharks. Hearing this, Chinyu could no longer sit still. After all, they were his subordinates, and they helped him find the meteorite. How could he just watch them being attacked by sharks? Chinyu could not just stand by and watch. He put on his equipment and took the machete in his hand. He followed the sardines into the sea. As soon as he entered the sea, Chinyu saw at a glance that the number of sardines in this group had decreased a lot. The remaining sardines were constantly hiding on the seabed. 3 sharks were chasing the dense sardines. The slender, silvery white king sardine seemed to have an injury on its tail. It was leading the sardines, continuously hiding here and there, trying to avoid the sharks' attacks. But as the bottom of the food chain on the seabed, their own attack power was weak. They could only rely on the number of groups to win. Facing the huge sharks, they could only choose to hide. After taking a look, Chinyu quickly chased after the shark that was chasing the king sardine. Chinyu's full strength power was terrifying. He stepped hard on the seawater, and a roaring sound broke out, like a missile entering the water. The sardine king saw Yumu swimming over with a weapon, and seemed to have seen a savior. He kept swinging his broken tail, and swam towards Chinyu. Soon, the sardines seemed to have received the call of the boss, and gathered into a group, hiding behind Chinyu for refuge. Seeing this scene, Chinyu shook his head speechlessly. Although this approach is desirable, their number is too large. Chinyu's small body could not protect them at all. And there were 3 sharks. Chinyu was facing only one, and the other 2 were attacking from the side and back. All dispersed, Chinyu shouted without caring about anything else. He took a deep breath of oxygen and prepared to fight the shark. The shark opposite Chinyu saw a tiny thing in front of him and was still showing off his power. He was extremely angry and felt that his dignity was challenged. After all, such a weak creature has always been their dish. Even such a huge school of sardines, under the pursuit of the 3 of them, can only run for their lives. I have never seen anyone who is not afraid of death and dares to challenge me. Woo wow! The flat-headed shark in front of him roared and rushed directly towards Umo. Chinyu tightened the machete in his hand and squinted his eyes at the shark rushing towards him. It seemed that he was looking for the angle to cut. But the shark didn't give him time to think. In less than 2 seconds, the shark directly crossed a distance of dozens of meters and rushed to Chinyu. Bang! Chinyu raised the machete in his hand and hit the shark's teeth fiercely. The power of both sides was extremely strong. The collision made a fierce bang. The weak sardines around were rushed to the distance by the water flow brought by the collision force. The shark and Chinyu retreated a distance respectively. It was the collision of the water flow that pushed them out. The shark shook its head, which was not dizzy. It seemed unimaginable that Chinyu had such a strong power. Seeing that Chinyu was not hurt at all, the shark was even more angry. He had taken the initiative to attack, but had not gained anything. Instead, he was dizzy. The shark opened its mouth full of sharp teeth and rushed towards Chinyu again. Yu had already tested the shark's power and felt that it was just SOSO. Even if it was a head-on confrontation, he didn't need to use all his strength. He could easily subdue the shark. But I didn't expect that this shark would not learn its lesson and dare to rush towards me. Humph! You are looking for death. Yu snorted in his heart, holding the machete in his hand, and holding it across his chest. The force of the shark's attack this time was even more terrifying than the last time. Its big mouth kept biting, trying to tear Yu into pieces. How could Yu be scared by a shark? It was just a beast. How could it be compared with himself? Seeing the shark rushing in front of him, Yu quickly turned sideways and avoided the shark's attack. At the same time, he quickly drew his knife, slashed across the shark's back, and blood spurted out instantly. Yu stood still, took a piece of shark fin floating in the water with his left hand, and sneered at the shark going away. It turned out that Yu had cut off the shark fin on his back that kept him balanced, but the shark flew far away due to his own impact. The shark had already rushed far away at this moment, and it couldn't stop at all. The fin on its back was gone, and it couldn't control its balance at all. It was knocked unconscious during the flight, and was covered with wounds. The shark wanted to rush over again, but it crashed into the reef again. It seemed that he still knew at this moment that his weapons had been cut off by Yu. There was no need to consider the shark anymore. Yu looked at the other two sharks with his sword, ready to attack at any time. The sardines were now extremely scattered, and the two sharks were chasing them everywhere, not paying attention to Yu at all. Although they did not offend him, Yu could not let them go. After all, they had bumped into their meritorious servants, and today they were doomed. Yu aimed at a shark and rushed over directly. In a few seconds, he once again cut the shark's fin in half. The other shark was also treated in the same way. After the fins were cut off, they lost their sense of balance. Even if they could swim in the water, they were like drunk, swaying from side to side, and it was difficult to control the direction and balance. After seeing the miserable state of the three sharks, Yu felt a little sorry. He decided to kill all three sharks with one knife, so as not to make it sad. After killing the three sharks, Yu cut off the fins. You should know that this is the raw material of shark fin, a top-grade ingredient, which costs up to 2,000 yuan per kilogram on the market. Some top restaurants, after cooking shark fins, cost more than 1,000 yuan per bowl. The three sharks were completely dead, and Yu did not bring them back to the boat, because shark meat is tough and not tasty. They have enough food now, so there is no need to eat this kind of food. It won't take long for the three shark bodies to be found by other fish and devoured. Looking at the extremely aggrieved king sardines behind him, Yu reached out and grabbed it. He gently placed his fingers on the torn tail fin, and a cool feeling surged from Yu's abdomen, flowing through his fingers to the king sardines. After a while, the king sardine's trained tail gradually grew and repaired. Gurgle. Gurgle. Gee! Finding that he had recovered, the king sardines jumped up happily, wagging his tail in the water, and hurriedly thanked Yu. With the sardines leading the way, Yu and his team passed through many submarine canyons, and finally arrived at an inconspicuous submarine trench. This place looked very remote, and there were few large fish coming here to feed. But Yu saw 7 or 8 sharks here, and an injured killer whale. These sharks were obviously with the 3 sharks just now, and they looked similar in appearance. Chapter 827, Unpleasant. The killer whale was already injured at this time, especially from the waist to the tail, as if a big hole was smashed by something. It looked extremely weak, and was besieged by a group of sharks, and was covered in blood and flesh, and could only struggle hard. According to sardines, the meteorite was embedded in the body of this killer whale. Because of the bloody smell of the injury, it was smelled by this group of bloodthirsty sharks, and then it was besieged. The killer whale is an extremely ferocious top predator in the ocean. Adult killer whales can even reach more than 10 meters in length. In the ocean, killer whales have almost no natural enemies. Adult killer whales can even prey on large sharks. Although killer whales are ferocious, they are very gentle to humans. Many aquariums have killer whale performances, because killer whales are gentle to people, and their intelligence level is very high. They are very easy to tame. Therefore, they have become a cash cow for those businesses. Adult killer whales can have the ability of a 15-year-old child. So when they encounter humans in distress in the sea, they are usually happy to help. Not only that, killer whales will even help the fleets going out to sea to drive away sharks. Moreover, killer whales usually have their own families. and the entire group travels in groups, rarely being left alone. But this killer whale left the group for some reason, and was besieged by a group of sharks in this remote trench. If he didn't go up to help, this killer whale would definitely die here today. Compared to the fierce and brutal sharks, Chinyu still prefers the cute appearance of killer whales. So after hesitating for a while, Chinyu went up with a machete. Just like the previous sharks who underestimated the enemy, the sharks didn't take Chinyu seriously at all. The other 6 sharks were besieging the killer whale, and only one was separated to deal with Chinyu. They smelled a faint smell of blood on Lonely, so they separated one to deal with him. Otherwise, these sharks would hardly even bother to look at him. After all, they still had something important to do: to kill this lone killer whale. When these sharks were besieging the killer whale, Chinyu had heard their conversation. This guy didn't take him seriously, but just thought he was an eyesore and wanted to drive him away. The shark's contemptuous attitude completely angered Chinyu. In addition to frowning, Chinyu planned to teach them a lesson. He wanted to let these creatures on the seabed know that not all humans are so fragile. Tomorrow he would vindicate humans. Chinyu picked up the machete and ran towards the shark. The shark didn't expect that Chinyu, a small creature, would have such courage. But the shark obviously underestimated the enemy. Before he could use his full strength, Chinyu chopped off his head in one encounter. The sharks that were besieging the killer whale were also very surprised to see their companions dead, and they died so quickly under Chinyu's knife. After a discussion, the sharks again separated 3 sharks and rushed towards Chinyu. Chinyu was very flexible in the water, and his agile movements were not much different from those of the 3 sharks. When the 3 sharks were chasing Chinyu, the killer whale had already killed a shark. You have to know that adult killer whales feed on sharks, so killing sharks is just a piece of cake. But these damn sharks, taking advantage of his injury, chased him in groups, making his injuries worse and worse. Now, Chinyu is restrained more than half of the sharks chasing him, and it is much easier for him to resist. After the killer whale killed a shark, another shark was also killed by Chinyu's machete. The 2 sharks on the killer whale's side saw that they were no match for it, and immediately ran away with their tails between their legs. The 2 sharks on Chinyu's side were not so lucky. After Chinyu killed one of them, they still chased them. As a result, all of them were killed by Chinyu's knife. Now 5 of the 7 sharks are dead, and 2 escaped. As usual, Chinyu cut off the fins of several dead sharks and put them in his pocket. After the killer whale drove away the opponent, it looked at Chinyu without panic. Because of its high intelligence, after seeing Yumu easily kill 4 sharks, he knew that this human was not easy to mess with. Moreover, Chinyu helped him kill the sharks, and the killer whale's favorability towards him increased exponentially. After watching Chinyu cut off the shark's fins one by one, the killer whale called out to Chinyu, "You're welcome. Let's go and talk on the surface." Chinyu took 2 consecutive gulps of oxygen and said to the killer whale after he had dealt with the shark. The killer whale saw that Chinyu didn't want the remaining sharks, swam over and started to bite them. After a while, several sharks were eaten up by him. Wemming, following Chinyu, swam toward the surface. Puff, finally out, this seabed is really annoying. Chinyu wiped the seawater off his face and kept complaining. Splash. The killer whale's momentum, when it came out of the water, was even more amazing. Its body, which was more than 10 meters long, jumped out from the bottom of the sea and hit the water surface heavily. With a loud bang, the waves created by the killer whale pushed Chinyu far away. "Hey, big guy, be quiet and stop making trouble." The killer whale, who had just survived a desperate situation and thought he was doomed, successfully survived. You can imagine how happy he was. Such an excited mood, not to mention someone like Chinyu who can understand animal language, even if you can't understand it. You can feel his happiness from it. After the killer whale reveled for a while, it finally calmed down, slowly swam to Chinyu's side, and gently rubbed Chinyu with his huge head. "Okay, big guy, don't say thank you. I saved you today, and I want to ask you for a favor." The killer whale obviously didn't expect Chinyu to understand what he said, and he could hear Chinyu's words clearly, which was really amazing. You know, when they encountered other big ships on the sea before, although they could roughly guess what humans meant, they couldn't understand what they said at all. And the language of killer whale civilization, those humans couldn't understand it either. But today I met a weirdo. This human, not only can he understand me, but also can speak the language of killer whales. The killer whale was really shocked when he suddenly heard Chinyu speak his language clearly. The surprised look and expression made Chinyu laugh. Killer whales are famous for their high IQ, so it is easy for them to express what they think in their hearts compared to other animals. Don't be surprised. We can talk to each other only as an exception. Other humans still can't understand. Chinyu explained to the killer whale why he could understand their language. The killer whale listened, and his eyes widened in surprise. Okay, now I'm going to take the stone out of your wound. Don't resist. Chinyu greeted the killer whale in advance, because he was afraid that when he went to take the meteorite, the killer whale would struggle because of the pain, and he would not be able to catch it. Chapter 828 Conquer. After getting the killer whale's consent, Chinyu swam to the back of the killer whale's waist and observed the wound caused by the meteorite from a close distance. It was also the killer whale's bad luck. When the meteorite fell that day, he was chasing a shark. Who would have thought that a stone would suddenly fall from the sky? Fortunately, he dodged quickly and avoided the tragedy of being hit on the head by the meteorite. But because of his huge size, even if he dodged quickly, he was still hit on the back of his waist by the meteorite. Fortunately, the meteorite fell into the deep sea, and the seawater offset a lot of the impact. Otherwise, it would not be a matter of smashing a hole in his back, but it would be directly broken in half. After that, the shark he was chasing saw that he was injured, and not only did it not run away, but it also called its friends to bring another group of sharks over. After that, he began to escape, until he escaped into the trench. After fleeing into the trench in a panic, he had no way to retreat. After fighting with a dozen sharks for a long time, a group of sardines suddenly appeared and led away 3 sharks. Although there were only 3 less sharks, his pressure was greatly reduced, and he resisted for a long time. It was not until Chinyu appeared that he escaped from the predicament, not only saving his life, but also completing a desperate counterattack. After so many days of continuous escape, he thought he would die, but he suddenly survived. The joy he felt could not be expressed in words. What surprised him even more was that the human who saved him could actually understand him. This was simply a miracle from heaven. Therefore, when this human asked to see his wound, he agreed without hesitation. You know, if it weren't for this meteorite, he would still be wandering around with his tribe without worries. And this damn broken stone, firmly embedded in his body, not only hindered the healing of the wound, but also made him feel a little scared. Chinyu looked at the big hole on the killer whale's back woodenly. It could still chase sharks for several days despite such injuries. Chinyu couldn't help but admire it, because the hole on the back looked extremely tragic. The wound was bloody, and the meteorite was deeply embedded in his spine. The wound was about 50 to 60 centimeters deep, and the fat under the skin had already turned out red and white, and it looked extremely painful. Chinyu carefully put his hand into the wound, not daring to touch it at all. With this level of injury, he was afraid that if he accidentally touched it, the killer whale would be unable to help but go crazy with pain. Ding! Collect meteorite fragments *1 Congratulations to the host. Harvest the essence fragments of Tianqin meteorite iron, and a new ability will be unlocked soon. New ability, Pet. System prompt, insufficient number of meteorites. Temporarily suspend this function. System prompt, since the killer whale's body has been fused with part of the meteorite energy, it is about to be alienated. You can collect the killer whale in front of you as a pet. The moment Chinyu's hand touched the meteorite, the system prompt sound suddenly rang. A series of messages kept exploding in Suzuki's mind. He could hear the prompts of opening new functions, but it was opened and stopped for a while, which confused him. System, please explain it clearly. Can it be collected or not? Chinyu asked the system directly in his mind. He was too lazy to refer to the prompts of the system. He couldn't understand the twists and turns. System prompt, there are not enough meteorites now, and there are no pets that can be accommodated. However, the killer whale in front of him has merged some of the energy of the meteorites and can be collected. If you want to get more pets, please keep working hard to find more special items. I didn't expect that such a large meteorite was not enough to activate the system's function of collecting pets. Chinyu sighed inwardly. If I don't take it in, what will happen to this killer whale? Chinyu suddenly remembered that the system had just said that the killer whale was about to undergo alienation, and he felt a little curious. If you don't take it in, the system will recycle the energy it absorbs, and it will die. If the energy is not recycled, then the energy will make it evolve, and destroy the ecological balance. It seems that it has to be taken in. If it is not taken in, the system will directly kill this thing. But this guy looks so cute. It would be a pity if he died. Okay. Okay. Let's take it. Chinyu agreed to the system's suggestion to take the killer whale as a pet. System prompt. Please persuade the killer whale to agree to sign the contract voluntarily. Damn! Why does the system need to persuade the killer whale to tame it? System prompt. What is the use of the second level of animal language given to you? Don't you know what's going on? The system's words left Chinyu speechless. The big guy in front of him obviously has his own tribe. And his status seems to be not low. Will it agree to sign a contract with him? In any case, since he doesn't want this big guy to die, Chinyu decided to give it a try. Hey, big guy, let me ask you a question. Do you want to die or live? Chinyu was too lazy to waste time with this guy. So he got straight to the point and asked. Huh? Don't worry. I won't kill you. But your injury is too serious. And this stone that fell from the sky is constantly absorbing your vitality. Chinyu decided to coax and deceive this guy to subdue him. After all, he is too smart and a little difficult to deal with. If you leave like this, you will definitely die within 3 days. If you want to live, follow me for the time being. I will heal you. Hearing Chinyu's words, the big killer whale panicked. This meteorite is embedded in his body. It was nothing at first. But as time passed, he felt that something in the meteorite seemed to have entered his body. It would make him feel extremely panicked. The unknown always makes people afraid. Even this big guy is no exception. Therefore, although he agreed to follow Chinyu temporarily, he also put forward some conditions. It was nothing more than not hurting him, restricting him, and so on, just like a naive child negotiating with an adult. Chinyu pretended to think for a while, and directly agreed to his conditions. The reason for thinking for a while was because he was afraid that replying to the killer whale immediately would not seem serious enough, and would be perfunctory. Okay, I promise you, after following me, you will live better than now. After getting the killer whale's consent, Chinyu returned to the killer whale's wound again, and covered the wound with his hand. According to the system, because this killer whale absorbed energy, its existence became extremely special. While the system was recovering the fragments, Chinyu had to activate his healing ability in time to heal the killer whale's wound. Otherwise, after the killer whale lost the energy stone, it would die directly due to the loss of energy in its body. Chapter 829 Speculation. Swoosh. With a crisp sound, the meteorite at the wound of the killer whale turned into a blue light and disappeared into Chinyu's body. Heal. The moment the meteorite fragments were recovered by the system, Chinyu immediately activated his healing ability. Streams of cool energy flowed into the wound of the killer whale along Chinyu's hand. On! In an instant, the killer whale let out an extremely loud roar, which was extremely unfamiliar and not something a killer whale could make. This also indirectly proves what the system said. If the meteorite is not recovered, the killer whale will definitely undergo other changes. It may even become a monster in myths and legends. At that time, it will be a disaster for his creatures, even humans. The healing power in Chinyu's body continued to flow into the killer whale's body. The piece of meat that originally looked blood red gradually scabbed, and a layer of tender white meat membrane gradually covered the wound. As the healing time prolonged, Chinyu felt that he was gradually dizzy. He shook his head and gritted his teeth to hold on. Sweat was all over his head and face, and it kept flowing down his hair. At this time, most of the killer whale's wounds had healed, but Chinyu felt that he was getting weaker and weaker. I can't hold on any longer. Chinyu cursed inwardly. He suddenly remembered the 7 achievement points he had left. He hurriedly looked at them and added them all to healing. In an instant, Chinyu felt a warm breath surrounding his whole body. The cool energy flowing to the killer whale became even more powerful. Chinyu's symptoms were greatly relieved. After a while, the deep wound that could be seen through the bone had completely healed. It looked no different from other skin. Huh? Damn it! Finally done. I'm so tired. After finally treating the killer whale, Chinyu collapsed in the sea, feeling exhausted. Ah! The killer whale felt that his body had fully recovered, and shouted excitedly. Looking back, he saw Chinyu collapsed in the sea. He understood that it was because Chinyu was saving him. So he collapsed. He turned his head and dived to the bottom of the sea, and instantly surfaced, carrying Chinyu gently on his back. Chinyu, who was lying on the killer whale's back, did not notice at this time. At the moment when the killer whale was lying on its back, a little blue starlight flashed in the killer whale's eyes, and at the same time, a white star-shaped mark flashed across Chinyu's forehead. I'm so tired. Go over there. Yu pointed in a direction, turned over, and said while lying on the killer whale's back. The direction he pointed to was exactly where Ling Qing and the boat were. It is not impossible for him to swim back now. But there is a free laborer. Why should he waste his energy? The killer whale is indeed the overlord of the sea. After finding the direction, it sprinted, and appeared not far from Ling Qing in less than 2 minutes. In order to avoid scaring Ling Qing, Yu deliberately slowed down the killer whale, and he stood up and stood on the killer whale's broad back. Ah, help, shark! When the killer whale appeared in front of Ling Qing, the little girl was really scared and screamed. Even the whale and shark were not distinguished, and Yu was embarrassed to call the killer whale a shark, because the killer whale was so large. Ling Qing did not notice Yu on the killer whale's back for a moment. Stop! Stop shouting! Yu quickly covered his ears and shouted in Ling Qing's direction. Ah? Yu? Come over here. It's dangerous. Ling Qing's tone was nervous. Hearing Yu's voice, Ling Qing opened his eyes and saw Yu standing on the killer whale's head, because he had never seen such a huge creature before. Ling Qing was frightened at the first moment. The killer whale swam over gently and stopped beside the boat. Yu jumped from the killer whale's back into the boat and kept comforting the frightened Ling Qing. Don't be afraid. This big guy is my pet now. Try to touch it. After Yu comforted him for a while and asked the killer whale to perform up and down, Ling Qing believed that Yu had subdued the killer whale. At the same time, Yu swam majestically from a distance riding a killer whale. It also scared the audience in the live broadcast room. But I am uneducated, and I can travel the world with just one sentence. Wow! +1 is this the legendary Dragon Knight? No. This is the legendary Whale Knight. You are all wrong. This is the legendary Navy. These guys in the live broadcast room have seen how powerful Yu is. They are used to him fighting black bears alone and killing jackals. So they are not surprised to see him subdue a famously ferocious killer whale. Fuck. Teacher Xiao, what do you think of Yu taming a killer whale in the ocean? In the special live broadcast room at this time, the usually gentle host Yubin also said a classic. Fuck. And then turned to Xiao Chong and asked. Xiao Chong had just recovered from his shock and looked at the camera in front of him and forced to suppress his disbelief. Ahem, actually, this is not impossible. Although killer whales are terrible predators in the ocean, they are still very gentle to humans. Moreover, many aquariums have tamed killer whales performing and even interacting with the audience. So I guess the killer whale that Yu met should have been released by an aquarium. That's why it's so docile. This can be seen from the fact that he let the killer whale perform just now, and that the killer whale was alone. After all, while killer whales have their own tribes and rarely appear together, Xiao Chong combined what he knew and added some inexplicable speculations, and finally came to this conclusion. Hearing what Teacher Xiao said, Yu was just lucky this time. What do you think? Teacher Xie? Yubin briefly summarized Xiao Chong's point of view, and turned to ask Xie Tingting, who was staring at the screen in a trance. Ah? This. I think this is inseparable from Yu's personal charm and strength. After all, there have been so many cases of killer whales attacking people in recent years. Moreover, even if this killer whale was released, few people can be as bold as Yu after meeting it. After all, most people would be scared to flee by such a huge creature. Well, Teacher Xie's point of view is also very desirable. I wonder what the friends in the live broadcast room think. Look at you. You are a fool who only asks questions. I watch it while sitting, standing, lying down. What's your business? I look left and right. Please, you have seen everything. What are we watching? Shut up. Don't disturb me from watching my little brother Yu. Shut up. Don't disturb me. Watch my goddess Ling Qing. Your goddess? That's Yu's woman. Give me the address upstairs. The Canyon of Kings is waiting for you.